Ask Gun. AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions. And we'll be doing that in just a moment, as soon as we do this.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Of course we have patches. All right, so welcome everybody to Ask Gun Questions, and I think I'm here by myself today. So we had originally planned on having a couple of people join us, but I don't think they're going to be here. Let's find out. Is this another text coming in? Yes, but it's not going to show up. So then we'll see. So I'm originally, like I said, this was scheduled to be in Phoenix at Pot of Gold Auctions. So stay tuned for future Ask Gun Questions, where we will be in Phoenix at Pot of Gold Auctions doing this on location. So for now, I guess I'm looking at the screen here. We were just watching the Daily Bullet, so you can blame them for why we're late. And then I will go over to Ask Gun Questions, responses. Boom. What are we talking about? This is a website called Ask Gun Questions, where we had a website called AskGunQuestions.com. I don't know when I started that site. A long, long time ago. Dozens of years ago. Or over a dozen years ago at least. And there's a form here. You can ask a question, and when you do, boom, it goes over to this Google spreadsheet looking thing. And all over the years, I've done different things with the questions to address them, to answer them. And lately, we've been going live on Saturdays to address the new questions that come in. And then we dig into some old questions as well. So Clover's joining us, Clover Tack, on YouTube and all over the internet. And right now you're in Vegas. So are you somewhere, or are you like in the car?
Yeah, we stayed at a hotel last night, transferred to an Airbnb here in a little bit. And so I'm in the hotel parking lot.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're literally just kind of staged. So are you in the middle of doing something, or does this work out for your schedule?
No, I'm good. We had some problems getting checked out and whatever, so that hung me up. Of course, you got to be out at 11.
They don't like it when you take the TV and throw it out the window. I told you.
Right.
Even if you take everything and line it up all nicely at the end, they still get mad. They still got to vacuum all that up.
Right. Yeah, and then stupid time zones. I hate time zones, right? Because like you guys, it's noon there, right? But here the time changes or whatever. So it's different, even though we're only literally a few hours away from,
it's just walking across
your
the
time
bridge.
zones.
Walking across that stupid bridge, which is actually walking north, which is always a lame thing when you walk north into a new time zone.
Yeah.
But Ghost is saying
anyway.
At the airport. And
nice.
Yeah, they're requiring masks in Vegas. So that means they're requiring it at the show. So then we're going to ask or answer the questions that come in. There's only been 2 that have come in since the last time we went live. So that means we'll dig into the ones in the backlog there. Lots of them over the years. And
the live chat. There may be some in the live chat pop up too.
I was going to say, yeah, that people have been asking in the live chat. I was going to say, these go back to 2017. So we got a bunch of them in there. All right. So first one is Makojo asking, do you still bring the entire studio with you for these broadcasts? Clover, you're on the phone, or you got something fancy?
No, absolutely not. I've got a headset plugged into the phone. I actually picked this up in Amarillo, Texas last night, I guess it was, or whatever night. I don't even remember. Good Lord, my days are all mixed up from driving all, 20-something hours straight. But yeah, I stopped in and they actually had, my phone does not have the headphone jack, this new one. So, but they had a set of earbuds that just plugs into the power, you know what I mean? Little plug. So yeah, I've got my phone. That's it. I don't bring the laptop. I don't bring any of that. It makes communication with emails and a lot of things because I'm used to doing that on a laptop. I'm just old school. So it's made some of that the last couple of days difficult, but I'll trudge through it. And the more I use it like that, of course, the more I get accustomed to using it, and the easier it is, obviously. But then as far as, I don't know what he's getting at, he means like these lives or the events or whatever, but I use pretty much the same stuff at, I will at SHOT Show if I do any video there that I do shooting on my own, shooting video on my own range. So not really any equipment change there. It's a cell phone and some fairly compact microphone systems and fairly compact tripod and that sort of stuff. So try to make everything as compact and portable as possible, right?
Right on. So then if Makojo is talking about when we were chatting, I've been chatting a lot this week about SHOT Show because I'm a big fan of it, and people have been asking questions this year. So we were chatting about the going over the years, and this one year at this one place, we had a huge, I guess they're called, what are they called? Bellboy carts, like that big thing that they normally would put like a lot of luggage in, like in a movie, they'll have like, bunch of people's luggage on this cart and somebody knocks it over or whatever. So we had this whole cart full of like regular monitors, like old-fashioned giant monitors with glass in them and everything, and then towers and a printer, because I always tell, a couple of years we had to bring printers because you still had to fill out disclaimers every time you took a picture of somebody in it. And so you had to walk around with a stack of papers. And we were talking about that. So no, we don't bring anything like that. And then I've talked about how, editing in the evenings. So Clover saying he does not bring a bunch of stuff, but then he also said about all these microphones and stuff. I'm the opposite. I'll bring a laptop. Did you say you bring a laptop or no?
No, I do not.
See, so Clover doesn't bring any editing stuff. He just brings all this stuff to film, and I'll film with a camera and I'll edit. So, for me, I don't want to, well, for lots of reasons, I bring the laptop. So that way I have other things I got to do. Like I can't just we can fart around. So I'm going to need the laptop for other things. And so then I've got it for editing. So I technically have everything I would have because I only have two things, the phone and the laptop. But now I'm going to bring this headset. It cost me $12 because I don't want to pay $12 up there for one. Let's see. So,
well, it's going to depend on what you're doing. So like, several years ago, 4 or 5 or whatever it's been now, years ago, kind of caught crap a little bit for using the cell phone and stuff. You know what I mean? There were actually, you've seen a lot of, film crews, guys that had the camera, one guy holding the camera, one guy holding the microphone, one guy was doing stuff on the laptop, and then the other guy was the guy talking on screen or whatever type thing, right? You've seen a lot of that. Companies have gotten way more receptive to the fact of you've literally got a movie studio in your pocket nowadays. And so, where I can remember Jeff going, oh, you need this high dollar or whatever it was, $3,000 camera and to be taken seriously and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, not really anymore. I mean, maybe with some companies, maybe, but, most of them get the power of a cell phone. I mean, if you look at the newest iPhone, I've seen the commercials on YouTube for it for the last, I don't know how long now. And they actually tout that you literally can do, studio quality movies on that iPhone. So, and people realize that.
Well, okay, but you know what? You can paint a Picasso with a paintbrush, but that doesn't mean everybody that picks up a paintbrush has that potential. So there's that element. And then the other thing is, as you were saying that, and I just playing devil's advocate because I don't care one way or the other about this kind of thing, but for the most part, because it changes all the time and there's always different ways. But as you were saying that, I'm thinking of somebody like either somebody who's got only finite time at the show, right? So if you're taking their time, or a company that only has X amount of reps or time at the show, because it's all down to time. There's 4 days. It sounds like forever, but in real life, 2,800 media coming through your booth, they each get X amount of moments, right? So
then you got all the business you got to deal with too, right? You got to factor that in.
I'm assuming somebody's got like a media person. Like this is just 100% devoted to media. They still got X amount of time. So when in Jeff's case, like say devil's advocate, in that case, you walk to, and it doesn't have to be necessarily size or scale. It could just be who's the most popular girl at the prom this year. And if you walk up and you got, hey, I got my cell phone. They don't, unless they know you. And it's like, oh yeah, you're the guy that's totally capable with a cell phone. You're the guy that takes the movies, or you're the girl that takes the movies with iPhones or whatever, right? Unless they know that, then you're just some guy with a cell phone, while this girl has a crew with 3 people and the entourage, and okay, I've only got X amount of time in before the next crew, so let's take the one that looks professional and is good to go. So, but again, is it worth all that just for those circumstances? It depends if that was your livelihood or if that was something to do. And so, yeah, there's no right answer. It's just there's different ways to approach it. You could walk around SHOT Show in a suit. You could walk around SHOT Show like I do, which it looks like I'm about to go hunting. And we're fishing maybe, right? Like, 'cause I don't have that much camo on, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just walk around like if I'm going to the gun shop, and other people walk around like they're about to do all their business for the year, and we might both be doing all our business for the year. It's just that I don't have suits.
Some of us
around in a suit.
Some of us run around like we're, power walking a marathon or something. It's kind of how I see myself around SHOT Show, right? It's always I'm on a mission,
So hopefully we address that one. So then, if anybody's got any other questions, you're welcome to. There's a bunch of people showing up, so welcome. You're welcome to ask questions. No obligation or nothing. Just throw an @ in front. Well, actually, don't even throw an @ I'm not watching it on YouTube. So if I missed something, just say it again. Or Clover's not looking; he's on a phone. So let's go backwards. We got one on the 12th of this month. Does Benelli M4 can be shot without stock? So can a M4 be shot without the stock? I don't know enough about that one. Is that inertia? Is that recoil? How's that recoil?
Inertia. M4, as far as I'm aware, is inertia operated.
So Benellis are fancy. They're not regular. Like, they can't deal with springs and pumps and stuff. They use inertia. So the round going off happens in the chassis, let's say, and the mass of the bolt or carrier or whatever it's called in these things sits in one place in the universe, and the shotgun chassis moves around it, basically. So it's kind of neat. It's physics, and it's more reliable than regular shotguns, right? Because the operator is removed from it for the most part. The only trick is if inertia can't work if you're not standing behind it. So number one, will the thing even function with those parts removed? And 2, can a person holding a pistol grip Benelli M4 operate it? Like, will it actually be enough? What's the word? Like opposite reaction for the force to happen? And I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
That happens a lot too with your modern double barrels and over unders, specifically over unders, right? They switch barrels. When you pull the trigger, the inertia or whatever you want to call it, right? Equal opposite reaction thing, trips that over to the next chamber, right? The next barrel automatically.
Oh, I never thought about that. So if you
I've seen issues where you try to hip fire, down without the stock, like on your shoulder, like a double barrel. A lot of times they won't swap barrels. You'll pull the trigger.
You're coming up from the hip to shoot 2 clays. You shoot the first one, and because your gun didn't engage,
you weren't mounted.
You're dead.
Yeah.
You got a dead trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So with an M4,
much simpler principle, but as far as physics, the same principle.
Now, if you got like a Remington 870 is an ideal rifle or shotgun because the stock is just there for looks. It doesn't need to exist.
Yep.
You can cut it off. You can use something else. Like, it's not part of the operation of the gun. However, I don't know, like an AR-15 is an easier example. You can't take the stock off of one because it's an aluminum tube and its bolt carrier goes into the stock. So the receiver extension is called a receiver extension because it extends that part of the receiver so that the bolt carrier can go out into that spring. The best they can do is put a different mass bolt carrier on it, and then screw with the spring, and then make it much shorter, and hope that changing of forces doesn't yank the threads out of the back of the receiver. So with ARs, you can't remove the stock unless you do something like one of those kits that puts a hinge in there, and then you can't shoot the gun. So it's an either or. So with an M4, is there parts back there that are necessary? Like, if you removed them, you'd have to mod it, or is it like no problem, like an 870 you can take the stock off? Like, I don't know. Asking.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, there is components to it.
Okay, so there'd be physical issues. You'd have to like reroute the gun or something to do something, but if it's even possible to reuse it. So yeah, it sounds like that's why you don't see it. And that's probably the kind of question that comes up a lot, not so much at gun shops, but amongst people who are farting around just having conversations like about a movie or something. And it's like, oh, how come you never see this?
Well,
Well, technically, because you can't take those parts, you can't take those off. You'd be removing parts that make the thing work. So that's why you never see one without it.
Well, and not work, but work very smoothly. That's the thing. So like you can get the little, what is it, the TAC 14 or something, that's the semi-auto Remington. That's the little bird's head grip or pistol grip, right? It doesn't have a stock. And you see semi-autos, and there's a bunch of semi-autos you can do that to. But when you're talking about the inertia operated or whatever, there's such a drastic difference in the recoil, in the way the recoil is felt, right? It's like you can literally, Remington or let's say Mossberg even too, semi-autos, there's such a drastic difference when you shoot one of those compared to a Benelli or Beretta. You can literally feel the difference of the action in the recoil. It's pretty cool.
The next one is when removing. This one is also from this month. So these are people that have been using the website since the last time we did this, which was a couple of weeks ago, or last week. When removing the gas block from a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 2 AR-15, it's the square-shaped gas block after removing the bottom set screw. How does it come off the barrel? There looks to be a small hole where the pin for the gas tube is. I realize that it has to be hammered out, and then does it just slide off, or does the pin below that? Looks like it has a head on one side, needs to be removed also before the block can be pulled off. All right, well, let's see.
Ooh.
Anyway, did you get all that on the first try?
I got all of that. Now, I'm not familiar with the exact gas block setup of that particular rifle, and I'm not in a position to look at the picture.
I'm going to create the mental picture here. So an M6, Smith & Wesson is just the company. The M&P 15 Sport 2, is there any difference between that and any other M&P 15 Sport?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know without looking.
Yeah, I don't know. The Sport was basically like they just didn't do a lot of machining things. I think there's not a forward assist. I think they didn't put a front sight on it or something weird. Like they did a bunch of things that people really didn't care about and removed a bunch of the machining processes. And for a company that is machining, that's how they do it. They're not going to remove quality or materials on a Smith & Wesson. So they're just going to remove processes. So they remove the amount of things they got to do, the time it takes to be in their factory. So it's the square-shaped gas block after removing the bottom. Okay, so the square-shaped gas block, now we're talking the part on the barrel that takes the gas from the barrel as the expanding gases are pushing the projectile out the front, and some of the gas is pulled upwards into the gas block and then pushed back to make the action operate, right, by pushing back the bulk carrier with the key. So in that gas block, normally it's not anything. It's just an angled piece of metal with a hole in it and with a hole in the barrel. In this case, it's probably a square-shaped chunk of aluminum or maybe steel, because it's not. There's no sight on there, right? So it's just a piece of dovetail on top or something.
Could easily be either one, yeah.
He says square-shaped gas block. I'm guessing, yeah. I doubt they did it with nothing because it doesn't cost nothing to put a rail in there. But whatever, it's just some kind of gas block without a front sight on it that we're used to seeing. After removing the bottom set screw, always bad. Never get a set screw AR, like pin it. Anyway, how does it come off? That's another reason why it's cheaper, because they don't have to pin the barrel. They just shove a set screw up in there.
Well, most I've seen have two. So that was would be my first question. Is he says remove the set screws?
You're right. There can't.
And I don't think I have ever seen one that only had one. So he's either missing a screw somewhere, or
he's just missing an S. I'm sure that's a typo, because there is no such thing as you have to have two set screws. It's such a high pressure thing. There has to be two.
Yeah.
Plus it would torque and twist. So there's two. There looks to be a small hole where the pin for the gas tube is. All right, the pin for the gas tube is. I realize it has to be hammered out. So in other words, there's some sort of a key that goes through that thing, even though it's just set screwed on. Do they also put some sort of a key so it doesn't rotate around? Because that could be, but I don't know. And I haven't.
No, I don't know of anything that's been that way. I'm not saying that because I'm not familiar with that particular rifle. I wouldn't say definitively, but I don't know anything that is. So if you pull the
never heard of that.
So if you pull the set screw, and you can't pull it off by hand by a little wiggle, tappity tap tap with a rubber hammer on the edges of the gas block. because, and here's why I say that, for two reasons. Number one, it's set screw. So usually when they set screw those, you got to realize this, they line up the gas block, and this is the way I always recommend putting on a gas block if you're going to use one with set screws, is you put your set screw in and you snug both, you line your gas block up, get everything lined up, it's operational, it's good. Then what I do is I pull one of the pins and then I'll barely drill, put a little divot, you know what I'm saying, up in the gas block. I'll run a little bitty drill bit down through the gas block. Once it's tightened in place and it has one screw that's holding it, right, I'll pull one out and I'll divot the barrel just a little bit.
The gas block itself as a fixture to drill that first hole together.
Right, as a jig, right? And then put that screw in, tighten it down, and then remove the other screw and divot that, right? And so if that's that way, and I've seen a lot of barrels that have been factory divoted like that, right? So there may be a burr or something on that with that divot process that's just enough, right, that you're not able to do it with your hand. But I mean, if you tapped it with a little rubber hammer or something, potentially it'll kick that burr off and come off. The other thing you got to realize too is how long has it been, how many rounds has it been, and so forth and so on since that has been off, or has it ever been off, right? And so number one, you got all the dirt and the gunk and the grime and everything else from the gas pushing all that through, right? And so, and there's a negligible amount of room and space and airflow, so to speak, right, between the barrel and the gas block and all of that, so you can get crud all up in there. And so you also got to remember that gas block is one of the hottest points on the on the rifle when you shoot it too. So it's got a tendency to heat up, cool down, and everything metallurgy, related to that. So it could be a combination of a bunch of different things that it's just, for lack of a better term, it's stuck, and a little tap might break it free. You shouldn't damage anything by doing that with a little rubber hammer. And if you're hitting it rubber hammer on metal and you're not using a 12-pound sledge, shouldn't damage anything by getting it to try it, for sure.
Okay, I think we're figuring stuff out. So first off, Ghost says the Sport 2 has a dust cover. So one of the things they did on the Sports was not put the gas cover on, because that saves a lot of time, and then everybody freaked out, and then they put a dust cover back on the 2, it sounds like.
There you go. I'd be interested in Ghost. Ghost is pretty up to speed on the S&W, ARs. So
I went and looked at some gas blocks. So I forgot about these goofy looking ones that are meant to go under like rails and stuff, but that's one that is out there. But that doesn't look like a block, so that wasn't where my mind went. My mind went to this kind of thing where it just sort of a place for all the metal that needs to exist, and then they just stick a rail on top. But let me look at this question again, because now it says there's a small hole where the pin for the gas tube is. We're thinking gas block and barrel. I think what he's saying is gas tube pin. There's a pin that holds the gas tube in, and it needs to be hammered out. Yeah. Does it slide in? It looks like it has a head on one side. So that's a good question. I don't think that's
I got it.
I don't think that's a tapered pin. I think it just goes, but that it's a roll pin, but
it is.
Roll pins aren't tapered typically, but most people I know will tell you, like, understand the orientation that you're knocking it out, and then repeat that. So if you went from left to right, however you're looking at it, keep the pin in mind and try to shove it back in there left to right. So even though it's not tapered, if something about that gun made it up and it is tapered, try to shove it back in there so it's not fighting all that.
Right.
In this case,
okay, when you said read that part again, that makes sense. So if we're talking about the gas tube roll pin, right?
Right.
Okay, first of all, he may be confused because since it's a roll pin, there is a hole through the center of that, right?
Yep.
So if you don't understand what it looks like, that's what these questions are all about. But that could look like there's nothing in there. There's a hole there. Well, there's not a hole there. There's a pin
dented
there, right?
over. Could be peened over, and now
this is true too.
It's a header. Yeah. So that's probably what we're talking about. It's some kind of looking roll pin.
And because it's a roll pin, it's not a complete tube. It's got a slit run through it, right? So if you're looking in there, and again, if you're not sure what you're looking at, it could look like a flathead screw or something, right? Too, because of that little slit in the roll pin.
Weird. Yeah.
But you're right in that it's a pin, and you just need the right size punch to peck that out. But you're also right in that know your orientation. So typically, if you're behind a firearm, or if you're behind a rifle, typically that's your orientation. So if you're behind it, right, your right hand's your right side, your left hand's your left side. Typically everything goes in right to left, and it comes out left to right. Goes in right to left, comes out left to right. So that's usually the way I normally orient.
You could orient off the gun like a pilot seat, and you could say, I'm going to drive it from the side with the chamber to the side with the, the side with the ejector to the side with.
This is true, front to back. Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, so, yeah, I feel like not only did we solve this person's question, but we saved an AR-15's life, and we solved AR-15's lives in the future. So maybe Smith & Wesson shouldn't even bother with the user's manual. They could just point to this show.
But he's probably putting a piston system on it. He won't ever have to worry about it again, though, right?
Ugh, probably horrible. Can you even do that? Probably can. I'm not a fan of pistons.
Yeah, I think you have to have the right type of upper. I don't think you can convert a.
Well, I think that lots of things have existed, and I do remember a aftermarket shove a piston in type of thing, but it was definitely a aftermarket.
I don't know how that would be reliable at all, but yeah, I hear you.
So here's the deal. I think we're going to solve that one, or call that one solved. So that was a pretty interesting one. But I was going to also, I guess, look at it and go, that's a tough one. We had talked about nomenclature and jargon and stuff one time. When removing the gas block from a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport 2 AR-15. Well, we didn't need the AR-15, but thanks. But that was a great description, because the Sport 2 tells us more than just saying, I have an AR-15, which a lot of people would just, I have an AR-15. So that Sport 2 tells us a lot about that it might be trying to save money. So maybe this one is a little bit different. Smith & Wesson is quality, so we right away eliminated all the garbage like errors in production or poor quality assurance type of stuff. The bad stuff goes out the door. It just doesn't happen very often with the big company,
right?
Especially Smith & Wesson's got.
Now you do always have the possibility he bought it used and what the previous owner did, right? But
that's true. But sometimes that was still say that usually. That's a good point though. But often people, if they think it's relevant, they'll add it. But sometimes they don't know it's relevant.
Right. And you may not know it, may not necessarily know, right? But I agree. That was a fairly well worded question. So kudos on that for sure.
Yeah, for not having some sort of working knowledge of all the jargon. That was a great way of getting it across. And then I'm not going to go through it all, but you saw how we kind of worked it out eventually. So that's basically what happens at a shop. Either people will bring in the stuff, or somebody will grab something off a wall, start pointing to the AR where it bit you, that kind of thing. And then you figure it out. But dang it, I had something else that happens at the shops, and no, I'll figure it if I come up again. So what's this all about? I covered a bothersome brush pile. It's impinging on my range with a tarp before overnight rain and morning snow. Going to try to burn it. Oh, okay. Hey, there's Echo. Good afternoon. I was going to say, Echo, if you want to sometime schedule it, I'm going to start digging into my ammo collections. So I don't know how interested you are in collecting ammo, but when you're doing the 7.62x39 series, if you keep doing that, I've got that's my favorite thing to collect. That's the thing I have the most of. But ammo is cheap, and you find it, and people give it to you and stuff. It's like when I worked at the range, I got it for free and stuff. So I've got a lot of ammo, and my goal is to put a bunch of it up on the Pot of Gold auctions. So I'm going to be arranging it, figuring out what I got, and then figuring out how to put it into some interesting collections and assortments and stuff. I don't know if Echo's interested, or anybody else might be interested in that. Let me know. And then I can either schedule to do it on Echo's chat or show, or invite him in and do it at a time when he's available or something if he's interested. But sometimes reloading people are into all that stuff, and sometimes they're more about pulling the triggers, Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I got oh crap. I put my volume down. I'm an idiot. I got 18 different texts over here. Here, the next one. Well, we did that one already. I'm going to throw one at Clover because I just realized I got 4 texts I'm missing, and everything's going on today. We missed, this is the one we ended with, or we didn't hit last time. I have a CVA 50 caliber. Oh yeah, this one's weird. I have a CVA 50 caliber muzzleloader, and I would like to know if it shoots real lead 50 caliber conical bullets. And yes, I've tried PowerPoint bullets, but they're expensive and sold out everywhere. So basically, a 50 cal muzzleloader wants to know if he can shoot the 50 cal conicals. I guess it would be a CVA. So is that like a kit, or does that mean just like a reenactment type of looking thing?
It's probably one of the inlines or something like that. If I was guessing, it's probably a manufactured. If I was guessing, modern. If he's talking about shooting conicals through it, probably a modern production. Yeah. So so short answer is yes. Long answer is no. I think on this. You know, the thing is with a muzzle loader, anything you can get down the barrel comfortably, can you shoot it out? Yeah, that's one of the appeals of muzzle loaders, and that's kind of where it started with grape shot and chain and whatever they could stick down a blunderbuss and line it off and go boom and push it out the barrel. You know, is it going to be optimal? Is it going to be accurate? You know, all of those things. The way the lands and grooves work on muzzle loaders are typically more designed for you know, more designed for either your your lead balls, the mini balls, that sort of stuff. So a couple of things I would recommend probably looking into there. I mean, if you want to shoot conical style, I would say look into some molds. I mean, and maybe source some lead and mold them yourself. And then cost-wise, because that seems to be part of the question, is the cost, and I totally understand it. So maybe, you know, maybe do that, and you know, once you've got the investment of the mold, I know that in different states regulations are different on lead and what you got to do, but I know that at least in Texas, you can pick up the tire shops and stuff that, of course, have the wheel weights, which are predominantly lead. You have to kind of go through them and make sure. But you know, they will either give and or usually sell those pretty cheap. I mean, I think a nickel a pound is what the last time I bought some, and I've got several barrels full of lead, so I haven't really bought any in a while. But I think about a nickel a pound is what I was given, and I think that the scrap yards were paying something like maybe 12 or 15 cents a pound for it. But the thing is, the tire shop would have to load all that up, carry that out, and I was just showing up. I just show up and get a 5-gallon bucket full, pay them for it right there, cash money on the spot. So, you know, that's an option. Now, if you're talking about sabos, you know, saboted rounds, E. Arthur Brown and Company, I would say look into them because they've got an issue. Sabos are expensive, and if you're not familiar with that, it's like a wad, like you would use in a shotgun. It's like this plastic cup that holds a projectile. And so you can buy those wads, those plastic cups, those sabos, and then you can put your own, you'll buy a separate box of projectiles and put them in there, right? So you just gotta figure a bore size. So, you know, you have to fit the bore snugly. And if you don't, that's where you need a sabo, or you need, you know, some type of something to make up the space. And I'll give you an example. I was actually helping my dad sight in just about a week ago because it got to be, you know, black powder. Last 2 weeks, I think, of deer season is black powder. Yeah, I was helping him with his black powder, which is a CVA Wolf, I believe, which is one of the break action, little break action black powders, and it's a 50 cal. And he was just wanting to use round ball, and he had some 490 round ball, 490 being the diameter. Well, 490 is obviously 10 thousandths less than the bore of that rifle, right? And so the ball just rattles around, and that's not any good. So how do you do that? You patch it, right? Or you could put it in, like I said, a sabo. But for him, we just cut some old pieces of t-shirt. Now, it's important that if you do any patching, for accuracy, for consistency's sake, it's really important that if you do any type of patching or anything like that, they're even, right? So have you some type of, whether you do it out of cardboard or whatever, have some type of a pattern for that. Make sure that you're, you know, if you're using an old t-shirt or something that you're not using the seam area of the t-shirt in there, you know, that sort of thing. Anything where that patch is going to be thicker or thinner, and make sure they're all the same size. And so that really helps. Also helps if you use a little bit of black powder lube or something like that on them. And you can make up the difference of those 10 thousandths, right, with something like a patch. So that's what I said. Short answer is no. I think I said short answer was no, long answer was yes. But you can, but just like anything, if you're not going to pay for the real deal conical, you're going to have a little work and playing around and experimenting involved. You're going to have a labor involved in it. So that's usually the trade-off for cost. Unfortunately, is time. We can do, you could call a plumber to come fix the water leak at your house, or you could, spend all day, under your house and back and forth to the hardware store and do it yourself for way less money. Hopefully, G's back maybe by now.
Yep. Thanks for carrying it there. I'm just looking at Instagram now. You posting a bunch of pictures of clothes. I can understand food, but clothes.
Yeah, Forte EX. It is.
We're going to hear Clover getting arrested. Vegas, this is always exciting. I'll mute that so that he can he can keep his private life personal over there. So yeah, I got some bad news. It sucks over here. So now I'm super distracted. All right. So if I'm assuming Clover answered that, I'll assume Clover answered that one. I don't know. Probably. I don't know anything about that really. If I was going to go shoot one of my black powders, I would either ask one of my friends or go with one of my friends when they're shooting theirs and just do what they do. I don't know enough about black powders. Going back up the list over here. Oh man, all kinds of chat. Thanks for being part of the show. As you can see, I leave at least a quarter to a third of the screen over here for the conversation because I don't go live for fame and fortune. I go live for the ability to have this kind of actual interactive conversation. So thanks for being part of that. I'm trying to get this even bigger so I can see. So you people can see it. Let's see. So that was that. Sounds good. I hope that was talking about the collecting thing. Right on. Connecticut Valley Arms, that's CVA, right on. CVA is a modern-made muzzleloader that loads charges from the breech. Oh, okay, but takes the lead down the muzzle, and yes, you can fire conical-shaped bullets. Okay, thanks. So now I understand 100% of what this question's all about. So as the concept of a black powder continues to exist, right? They don't disappear just because they're old. And stupid laws still exist because politicians haven't been held to the fire to account for the stupid laws they create. We have laws that differentiate between a firearm that's ignited by a primer versus anything else. So and that means that there's hunting seasons because there's a differentiation between the devices. So because somebody's got a trip, somebody's glitch is that our property is considered violent to them, or they've been duped into associating a piece of property with violence. They've created laws that make certain firearms different than other certain firearms. And because of that, the Game and Fish has to deal with them, these different types of firearms, the way they would deal with archery or crossbows and trapping. It's a different type of hunting. So because of that, there's a way you can hunt with a muzzleloader. And because it's 2022 and not 1842, muzzleloading has evolved. So there's modern muzzleloaders, which are super nice guns. It's just that they have an antique firing mechanism. They don't have primers and cartridges. They have almost every other component. It almost is a cartridge and everything else. It's just that they technically fire in a different way. And
the chamber's the cartridge, right? It's built in.
Right. You're putting all the you're reloading in it. That's why Echo probably likes them so much. But I was going to say, there's nothing about that is better or more interesting. People have adopted to it and evolved it because that gives them an extra hunting season. But I'm not aware of anything about the modern muzzleloaders that is a more accurate type of firearm. Therefore, people value it. I believe it's just a way to comply with an unnecessary regulation that still existed unchallenged for all these years. And perhaps it's now used as a tool in game management. It separates hunters from amateur hunters.
It definitely has its own niche. I have been involved in some competition black powder stuff, And so there is an art and a science to, the correct, projectile and consistency in that versus consistency in application of whatever lube you're using and the right grains of powder
Sure, but I'm
behind it.
saying all that variety isn't better than a regular gun. It's just has a variety, and people are going to compete over there. But it's probably about the same, or maybe a little less, I would think.
But I will tell you that black powder, black powder can get you into actual cartridge reloading, because it's like you said, it's the same principle. To probably the Echo's point out there, it's the same principle. You're just doing it in the firearm, right? And also, not only are you doing it in the firearm, but black powder is a lot more forgiving. So when you get smokeless powder and you seal it all up in a cartridge with a projectile on the end and all this, and you don't use the right type of powder because there's so many smokeless out there, right? And you don't use the right type, and you don't use, whatever, the bullet is not seated to the proper depth, and because you got to realize with a modern firearm, that cartridge fits in a chamber. The black powder, you technically don't have a chamber. You have a breech. You have where all of that stuff goes in the opposite end of the barrel from the muzzle, but you don't really have a chamber, so to speak. And so because of all of those factors, it's a lot more forgiving. So if you don't load it enough, if you load it a little too much, it's a little safer thing. And a lot of people don't really understand that, because you're pouring powder out of a barrel and packing it in and slamming a projectile. A lot of people think it's actually more dangerous. Black powder is dangerous, and it's like, it's really not, because of the leadway it's got in the forgiveness on it, and it causes you to shoot slower. That's another thing. Is you could go out, if you go out and spend all day shooting black powder, well, good Lord, by the time you load and patch and shoot and clean and load and patch and all that, you could spend the time that you could run through 100 or 200 rounds of normal ammunition. You might go through a couple dozen shots with black powder, and you've had just as much fun if you just are looking to go spend time on the range pulling triggers.
Well, and that's a part of it. And that's what I was going to say. There's a difference between a competition shooter and a marksman and somebody training for police or something, like some job, like somebody who uses the gun in their job and wants to be proficient. And they all have a different, they're all maybe using the action ranges at the local range, or the action bays at the local range, but we all got these different interests. And then some of it is because I don't want to go there and run around, or I don't want to go there and sit around. I don't want to go there and patch targets. I shoot steel. I don't want to go there and not know how accurate I am. I shoot paper. I don't want to blah, blah. Like, so that's why shooting is fun, and it's better than golf. People are like, oh, it's golf, you just buy these different clubs. No, we're doing different things. It's like there's miniature golf, there's frisbee golf. There's just because you're at a golf course, quit marginalizing us. Okay, so next up is a bunch of talk about these black colors. Then I don't get this one. SHOT Show question. Oh, I see. We're sending everyone a VHS 2. What does that mean? Mine hasn't arrived yet. They've definitely spent the last 7 months waiting and talking them up. When can I expect the T&E? What is a VHS 2? Like is that a video cassette recorder?
I don't know. What was the question? What did it say again?
They're sending everyone a VHS 2.
Who's sending everyone?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what a VHS 2, if that's a model of something that I don't understand. You're definitely not talking to somebody who keeps up on new models of guns or anything. Not me, at least. Mickey's insisting on talking about black powder again. And then these CPA rifles are definitely alluring. There's one at the shop I may have to claim for myself to play with. Yeah, so let us know what you mean by VHS. I just missed that, I think. All right, so Springfield model 238A 20 gauge. Anyone know where I can get a stock? Trying to restore. I can't even imagine. There's got to be almost, I mean, I don't want to say every state, but I would think there's got to be at least a dozen by now places that'll just recreate any stock for any gun, right? Or is that not?
Yeah. You can.
Like,
it's going to be pricey.
They know what it looks like. I mean, unless someone forgot what it looks like, then all they got to do is take a scan of it and then make it on a, why can't I get this thing to center? Anyway, all I got to do is recreate it. If you're not looking for an original part, at least.
Well, so as someone who has a collection of and really likes old firearms, and an old Springfield shotgun would certainly be considered that. I kind of get where the person asking the question is coming from, and they're probably looking for something fairly reasonably cheap because there's not a lot of value, honestly, in that. So having somebody to custom make one, you could probably enjoy yourself on the weekend making the trip to Wanamaker and pick up the exact same shotgun for what with the stock and everything there for what you could buy a stock for that one, right? Unless we're talking about something that has sentimental value. They didn't say, right? I'll throw out a couple of options. Number one, when you're talking about the old shotguns, Springfield in particular, I don't know for sure, but cross-reference, there's a way you can Google it. And again, I don't have my computer or anything else. I'm on the phone here, but you can Google a cross-reference list between store brand rifles and shotguns and stuff, the ones that Sears and JCPenney and Montgomery Ward and Western Auto used to sell. And literally, I think you can Google like firearm cross-reference list or something, or firearm store brand cross-reference or something. And there's a pretty good list there. So I would cross-reference that Springfield in there and see what store brands, because undoubtedly there's going to be some J.C. Higgins or some kind of Western Auto or something, right? That's what that is. It's a Springfield, whatever model he said. And so that broadens your search when you're looking. I've had really good luck with stocks and stuff on eBay, to be quite honest. But then you've also got, I'll throw out a couple of options here, and they'll have to just listen to this and Google it, unfortunately. But you've got, and let me back up and say all of these places you want to call them. I know nowadays with the internet, and even with car parts, it's this way now. It's modern, where you can get on the internet and it'll show you where all the wrecking yards are and who has what and all this other stuff with inventory. For whatever reason, I find gun parts are not that way. Now, obviously, Numerich Gun Parts Corp is the go-to. Everybody knows of that. They talk about that. So I just mentioned that first to get it out of the way. But there's some other ones that you definitely want to call these folks, even if they do have online inventory, because sometimes they have stuff that's not in inventory online, or they can find it for you. The first is called Jack First, and I think they're out of South Dakota. The second is Lee's Gun Parts, and they're out of the DFW area. I don't remember, probably one of the small towns around there, but they're in just Google it, and if it's in the DFW area, it's the right one. And then Shalom Springs, Arkansas, or Shalom Springs, or Shiloh Springs, something like that. It's in Arkansas. There's a place called, dang it. The name escapes me, man. Gun Garage, I think, is the name of it. Definitely has garage in the name, but I think it's Gun Garage out of Arkansas. And I've had great luck over the years with those. So if you're looking at picking up, maybe trying to find a used one, that's some options that I would go with.
Right on. So, do you know the story of, I was going to say Northridge, but the other one you said, the parts company, the first one you said.
Oh, Numerich Gun Parts Corp.
You know the deal with them, where they came from and how they have all them parts?
No, not really. I mean, I know I've got a black powder. We've talked about black powder earlier, full circle. They made some really sharpshooter style black powders there for a while. I've got one of theirs. It's pretty amazing. But no, not really.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I know the gist of it is like, they were an importer or something, and then whenever factories went out of business, they just started saying, oh, well, we'll buy all your parts, or went to auctions and bought everything, and then people knew, well, crap, I'll just sell everything I got to Numerich. They'll buy it. And then they just had a bunch of stuff, and it was, I don't know if it was like amassing collections or they bought other places. So anyway, that would be an interesting, either somebody knows or to hear the story, because that's one of the things that I'd like to do at SHOT, is to get those kind of stories that we all take for granted. I mean, it would actually be neat.
Yeah, like
Star and all those places came from. I'm not that interested in it, but there's a lot of layers.
Well, that
you can pay attention to.
So that when companies stop production on a certain model, right, they'll keep some parts probably for a little while for service work or whatever the case may be. But you got to figure think about little springs or little widgets or knickknacks or this and that, right? And especially stuff that doesn't wear necessarily, or that under normal situations, it's ever great once in a while something breaks. and they may keep a dozen of those around just in case, but they potentially got thousands, hundreds or thousands of those little parts, right? So, why not liquidate them to somebody else like a Numerich?
Well, and I think once they became established, or at least places like that concept became established, then there was less incentive to keep your own parts around. You can dump them and let somebody else keep an inventory.
And so a couple of the other ones to elaborate, since we're kind of talking about them, is Jack First. Jack First actually reproduces parts. So there you can get, a lot of times you can get originals,
that's a whole different thing, because
you
that
can get one that they've actually, you can get one that they've actually built. And not only that, but Gun Garage, I called Gun Garage, and I don't remember exactly what part it was, but I called Gun Garage and talk with him, and he's like, he says, it's weird you call for that. I'm like, why is that? He says, I think I got one in the back that we need to repair. It was whatever part, right? And I'm like, repair it? He's like, yeah, I mean, had to do some TIG welding and then some finish work on it. And we're talking about a little bitty part, right? We're not talking about some big, huge thing. And I was like, wow, okay. And he's like, hey, give me a couple minutes. He said, let me go check. He come back. He said, yeah. He said, if you want that, he said, we'll go ahead and move it to the top of the list, jump on it and get it repaired and get it out to you. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it come in the mail, and I mean, you could tell, right, where it had been welded and polished back down and all that. But it's worked flawless ever since. And so they do. I'm saying that to say they also offer some. If you're looking for some really rare stuff with Gun Garage, they'll take sometimes some stuff that's obsolete and actually repair it, whatever the part is. It broke half in two, they'll take it all back together and then refinish it basically. Or if you've got your own parts that are broke, they'll do that too. If you've got all the pieces anyway, they'll put it back together for you. Put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Just had an alert come up that there was an insane looking large scale eruption of a volcano underneath the Pacific Ocean. And they've got footage. You can imagine nowadays, they got footage of that time lapse. And unfortunately, there's a bunch of people facing tidal wave because of it on those islands. So,
oh, wow.
We live on a big giant rock full of minerals and stuff that float around, and we've got a pretty good situation going. Let's just remember that. All right. So
the Earth is kind of like a dog that has fleas in a way, right? It's like it really doesn't want us here. And sometimes it shakes and throws us off.
It's okay with us, but yeah, it's not necessarily worried about us all the time. Okay, so getting into the actual questions people are asking, because we've just been going backwards through the questions that have come in over the last couple of months. The VHS, I guess, is a Springfield's new rifle. They're calling it the Helion. I was joking about it.
Okay.
YouTube suddenly having them, but it does look like everybody's got a bunch of them, right? So then Smeggy had said what it is also. It's a fully ambidextrous 5.56, whatever, designed on a modular platform. And then saying I'm a Bill Pup fan. Bill Pup fan. I've been waiting for this one since they were on Model 1. All right, so I think if you're talking about this, I was going to rag on it because I usually rag on stuff like this, but I won't. And not because it's a bullpup, just because I don't like Springfield and I don't like stuff that's unnecessary, but I won't rag on it too hard.
I don't like bullpups.
What is your deal about this? You like
it? I like bulldog pups, but I don't like bullpups. I just don't. Bullpups do not appeal to me.
I don't mind bullpups. I mean, but I don't like this kind of bullpup, if that makes sense. So, Planet of the Apes, wooden bullpups, I'm kind of cool. Like bullpup hunting rifle would be neat. Like I can handle an interesting, throw something at me, but this looks like they're trying to look like a Terminator movie or something. I don't get the lack of, I don't know. I'm not going to rag on it, but it's hard for me to look at it and not rag on it, I guess. So I don't know nothing about it. It does look like it is new, and I don't know. I can't even talk
now
about
that
it.
We know. Now that we're talking about a rifle rather than some type of digital media. Springfield. I get the jest there or whatever about it, because Springfield does have their list of influencers lined up, and whenever something new comes out, they send a lot of product out the door to people for sure.
So I won't talk about the gun because I don't know much about it, but I will say that I believe there's something in something about the fact. Thanks, Ghost. Something about the strategy of marketing can indicate the quality and mindset of the manufacturer. Can I leave it there? And I hope people understand what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And I'll leave it there.
I get it, but I should get it. So yeah.
I'm not actually a Springfield fan since they're not the real Springfield, but I know they're going to be the ones to import it, made by the same people as the XD. See, I'm trying not to say stuff, but I didn't think this was something that they sat down at a drawing board. This looks like something that already existed 4 times and now it exists again. Yeah. Some people dream about this stuff, though. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I like weird stuff. I just don't get this, personally. But I get how people could want something. It kind of looks like a FAMAS or whatever them things. Anybody that likes those kind of guns or the Steyr, right? You're going to like a non-traditional gun. And if you like Terminator robot movies or whatever, and you're like, oh man, I wish I had a Terminator robot gun. I'm just trying not to rag on this, but
well, I can't necessarily see it, but I'm assuming it's got that Eastern European look, right? That's what you're saying.
I guess. No, because a Beretta doesn't look like this. So would a Beretta not be Eastern European? That's the differentiation. Like a Beretta. What's that thing? What the hell were they called? The Beretta Battlestar Galactica or a better. It wasn't Battlestar. It was Stargate.
The Storm.
Yeah, the Storms. They got a.
Yeah, but that's different than what I'm able to see. What I'm seeing is almost like a bullpup AR or something.
No, well, I mean, there's nothing.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up later.
To me, an AR would be an aluminum thing with some stainless steel poking out of it and maybe a piece of plastic wrapping around a part or two. This is a polymer shell with some springs and widgets inside of it and the action back here. And when I look at it, I see a 5.5. Let me open up this big picture. I don't know if this picture is big enough for you to see it now. If I bring up this. So this is you hold down your control key on the keyboard and wiggle your scroll wheel, and that'll make pictures bigger on a real computer. I don't know how you do it on a Mac. So
that's a little better.
Yeah, so this is the thing we're talking about. I see it as a giant piece of plastic in 2 forms, friction welded together, and then imported. Again, a lot of springs, and there's a barrel in there, and then a lot of springs. And whenever you're talking bullpup, it's how rigid and how good of a mechanism did they get all this. And in this kind of form, it's probably better than anything else has ever been. Everything else is folded sheet metal and a bunch of guessing and hoping it'll bullshit. This probably learns from all that. I can't imagine Springfield would put their name on anything that isn't going to sell. So I'm guessing the trigger is just fine. But it's not an AR grip. It's a goofy thing that has an AR attachment point so that everybody can go nuts with their grip angles. But anyway, what I see here is a piece of polymer shells friction welded together, so you can't take it apart. Once it's broke, you're buying a new frame. I see it as 5.56 with an action here and nothing behind it. So how is this thing recoiling? It has to be an AR 180 style or some sort of weird, is it a piston? Something's going on, and where are the recoil springs? You barely have enough room for the bull carrier to go into the stock. So I don't see that stock as being adjustable. I see a cheek plate. So for me, I see something that parameters were met. I don't see something that was like, I need to accomplish this and let's build a mechanism to accomplish it. I see this as this is what people buy and this is the style they want, because this is all style. All the style is how they built the mold. None of this is function. None of this does anything. There's the elements that you need to sell. And then I see Phillips screws. How impressive can a gun be with Phillips screws? Am I a snob because I don't like Phillips screws? Thanks again for the people knocking out the bots, the Turkish bots. So yeah, I'm trying not to rag on it, but I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask about that particular one, I guess. It's definitely going to sell. People are going. It's like a U.S. Tavor.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's a Turkish Tavor, right?
Yeah.
If it's made by HS 2000s, it's made in Turkey or whatever. So that means it's their answer to the Tavor, but not a Tavor. And what does this look like to you? I can't tell. I don't know how well you can see it, but anyway.
I'm not into bullpups, man, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, I just meant
I
material.
mean, as far as
like a chunk of stainless that's milled, it looks like a poured something into a thing and maybe finished.
To me, I mean, honestly, and again, this is totally biased because of with bullpups. That looks like somebody at Taurus said, "Hey, somebody at Keltec said, "Hey, I can make something that looks a whole lot cooler." And so they went out and they basically used the same hardware. I mean, the same machining equipment and materials and everything else, and just like one up to a Keltec of some sort. Again, totally biased, but my opinion.
So I'm sorry if you don't like my answers, but I don't get paid by Springfield, so I'm not gonna answer because I want a Springfield gun or whatever.
Right.
And I like bullpups, like I say, but that one just doesn't seem like it does anything that other bullpups didn't already do. Anyway, I'm not trying to. I don't know. I'm not going to look at it. I looked at. Oh crap! What was it? I think it's a 240. Make a shotgun. Who made a shotgun?
Well, I don't think Springfield's going to be a shot anyway.
Oh really? So I didn't know that. But I think Tavor's. Somebody made a shotgun, and I picked it up because I was waiting for somebody one time, and it was like right there, and I'm like, well, it would be silly to not take 4 steps over and touch this thing. And I was amazed. I was super impressed. It was super impressed. So I was so impressed. I can't remember if it was a Tavor anymore. Somebody made like a 6-shot shotgun that looks like kind of like a Steyr AUG. No, maybe it was 3. It was 3 tubular magazines that would rotate. Something looked like a Steyr AUG a little bit, and it was kind of like that thing. It was just 2 pieces of polymer friction welded together, so it was like a one big piece of plastic thing, and super strong. Super interesting, and it was a shotgun with an under magazine deal, I think. But anyway, I was like, this is useless, but wow, is it made well? Like, I'm surprised how well it was made, because often when they make something that's useless, it's just so people buy it. So they put about as much effort into it as to not get a bunch of returns before people move on to the next gun. All right. So next up is, do we keep going? We're at about an hour. Should we keep going, or what's it like for you on the phone and the battery and all that?
I can go for a little bit, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I go for a little longer.
All right. So we'll go backwards, I guess. If anybody has any other questions, feel free. Let's see. You pistol with no bullets inside, load the magazine with bullets, pull the trigger. Will that load bullet into chamber? Okay.
I say you.
No, it says you, but it says pistol with no bullets inside. Load the magazine with bullets, pull the trigger. Will that load a bullet into chamber? No. So basically what they're saying is you've got an empty pistol and you load the magazine, like you load a magazine into the gun and then pull the trigger. Will that load the bullets into the chamber? No, it's when they rack it, when you hear the part, is when you're pulling the slide back and it pulls the first round. Well, basically it pushes the first round out of the magazine and into the chamber. Now it's loaded. On most guns, that also cocks the hammer and everything. So now it's good to go. You pull the trigger. Most guns, it's going to cycle, and you're going to just pull the trigger, keep pulling the trigger until the magazine's empty. But I don't know if that's somebody foreign or a kid. I don't know. That's a kind of a weird one, the way it's maybe English second language and just verifying what's on a movie. It's hard to know from that one. I don't think they're asking like procedure as much as like it seems to me more like a question like, would that work? Like, not like, how do you make this work? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know of any firearm that operates like that, where you pull the trigger and it loads itself and fires. Right. I don't.
As soon as you said that, there is something. There's that thing where you squeeze it and it loaded the first round, but it's not the H&K. It was something else, and it was.
Yeah, but you squeezed it. You squeeze it and then you pull the trigger.
Definitely. Yeah, no, you did a separate thing because it wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. As far as pulling the trigger and the trigger performing multiple functions. The only example of that would be a double action revolver, right? But it doesn't load the round. The round's already loaded in the cylinder. All it does is rotate the cylinder and fire. So
is a cylinder a magazine?
I guess, technically speaking, yes.
It has to be, I guess. Or no, it can't be. You know why? Because it's chambers. I bet you that's why. Because it's not.
Oh, this is true.
Ammo. It's holding chambers.
This is true.
So I bet
This
you, but
is
I don't
true.
know. Because I think magazine implies that you're not ready to fire. But I don't know. Because a chamber that's not in line shouldn't be ready to fire, I hope.
Well, the principle, I guess the basic principles behind it are the same.
I don't even know who you'd ask. Somebody at a gunsmithing school? Like some teacher at a gunsmithing school might know the technical answer to that? Because I don't know who would even have written it down to know who read to written.
I think it would be something along the lines of all revolver cylinders are magazines. Not all magazines are revolver cylinders, right?
Yeah, subset. So you'd have a circle that's around all magazines, and revolver cylinders are in there, but that doesn't mean that all revolver cylinders are everything else. Obviously.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's how it would be, or maybe it would be over to the side. I think it would have to be inside of it, but anyway, yeah, it would be something like that. Then there was a real question: have you gotten your hands on a Beretta BRX-1? Have you ever touched a BRX-1?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm gonna go look at what it is.
Handgun rifle.
I don't have nothing against Berettas. I just can't afford them, and I don't like them that much, so I don't fiddle with them. Some kind of bolt action rifle with a weird.
Oh, that's the bolt. Okay, that's the bolt rifle.
Is this new for Beretta, or they always had bolt rifles?
That's a question. I don't know.
It looks kind of like
I'm aware that they have bolt or have had bolt actions, but I don't have any experience with one.
What is this?
There's a lot of companies getting into the bolt action game.
Am I crazy?
One of the ones on my.
I don't know if you can see this. Then I just randomly. I think it's because we typed Beretta in there. Am I crazy, or does that look like a little shotgun? It's a 20 gauge, but I don't know. Either it just seems like a small shotgun. Maybe I'm crazy. It might be the angle or something too.
It kind of does look short.
Some sort of bolt gun. So no, I haven't shot in that. Here's why: because the media day, everything is on one side or the other of the long range stuff, which is up on a hill. And number one, I don't like walking up the hill because I'm a fat guy. So by the time I get up there, all I want to do is get down the damn hill. And then two, I get up to the top of the hill and I start looking around, and then I forget about whatever the long range stuff is. And then three, I don't even hardly care about long range stuff. So I haven't walked over there in years.
And so the long range stuff is predominantly there. I mean, for most of it is the majority anyway, is there in that covered part, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
And the problem, which is like the covered part's right at the top of the hill in between the two sections, basically. And so the problem with that is that stays jam packed shoulder to shoulder the entire day. There's like, it's impossible to maneuver through there almost. And so if there's something I just got to go check out, there, I will, but it wouldn't be uncommon for me to spend no time in that area just because it's just, I don't know how they can rectify that or make it better, but it's got that heel on the back side. So you can't like walk up like you can in the other booths. You have to kind of walk in from one side or the other, right? And then try to squeeze and maneuver through people all the way down or halfway or 6 booths down or whatever you have to do. And then everybody's waiting in line to shoot. So that stacks up traffic in there even more. And it's just a bad area.
It's never changed. It's for FYI. It's been that way since 5, forever. It's always been that way. So here's what I think. You've seen the rest of it. Well, I think you've been there since it even expanded to the north. Like you've seen it change.
Yeah.
So they don't want to. I think that's not by design, but they're like, okay, well, we'll just leave it like this. Like every time they probably come over and go, hey, you want us to make it where 100 more people could show up here? They'd like go, no, because number one, I don't even have any interest. I don't go over there and they know it. So the people that are kind of interested, they'd rather not show up. So make it unlucrative, like disinteresting, like, oh, I got to wait in line. I'll keep moving. So all the looky-loos keep moving. And what they get is the dedicated people that are interested. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Because nobody goes over there unless you care. Like they're not wasting their time at all in there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not wasting their time. People might
like
to them, but they're not wasting a moment of their time in that long range area. The people
like in 20, the only reason that I went in there, and I did it at the very end of the day as well, because that seems to be the best time. It's like go there last. But Bishops, Bishops had and I wanted to do their whatever that big Magnum is they had, and then they also had the lever action 458 SOCOM, which I'm a fan of 458 SOCOM, so I had to go check out their 458 SOCOM. And I mean, I did maneuver through for specifically for that, but it's every great once in a while there's something in there, but oftentimes not so much.
So next up is any old school guns coming at SHOT Show. I think Savage is making a new gun. DJ showed me one from Ivor Johnson, asshole. That's a 4-shot. What do they call them? No, is it not a pepper box? What's a 4-shot? Is that a brownie? Whatever, like a little 4-shot 22 though, on an NAA frame, basically. So imagine like a regular NAA, make it a boot grip instead of a bird's head. Right? Yeah. But that same, otherwise it's the same. Now where it goes in to turn into a revolver cylinder, take that away and put a 4-barrel lug in there, or a 4-barrel, whatever you call that on those old Derringers, where it's the chamber and the barrels together. You put that in instead of the revolver, and you leave the hammer and everything in there. And now that's that from Ivor Johnson, made in Texas. Or no, wait, whatever. Is Ivor Johnson Arkansas? Or Kansas, excuse me. So, that's kind of old school-ish. And then Colt doesn't care. Like back in the day, Colt's different now. But back in the day, Colt would just be like, hey, no one asked for this, but here it is. And they would just bring back like a 1903 or like a, like 30 or the little 25s or something. Right. They would just bring stuff back because they're Colt, and because I don't know why, but I thought it was kind of neat. I wasn't always impressed, but I was like, right on. At least you're keeping Colt alive. Like nothing wrong with that. You don't have to. I don't have to like everything you're doing. But there's got to be some others. There's usually some kind of flashbacks or throwbacks or whatever that's called. If there's a video game that's popular, like Red Dead, something like, then they might come out with a gun for that.
Well, game. Keystone did the little mini Mosins that one time. Remember those?
Yeah, I didn't even see Keystone. I looked all over the place for them because I was curious if it's going to continue that, and I couldn't even find them at SHOT. So either they're in like a bigger booth as a sub thing with somebody, or they, I don't know the name of their parent company, right? Because I put in Cricket, my first rifle, and I think that was it. Or no,
Keystone's where it comes up when I for this year when I looked, it was under Keystone.
I'm gonna go look again. But because I definitely was going to ask that same question plus other questions. Like, come on, man, I want way more stuff from Cricket.
Yeah, but so
sponsor me, but whatever.
So talking about Ivor Johnson is the company in name only at this point. Yeah, from the way it was explained to me a couple years ago at the show, and they got some pretty cool stuff.
It was like that for a long time though. That name has been moved around for a while, but the name is also the models, so it's like the heritage of. It's not like they come out with new Ivor Johnsons; they just keep making the same. It's like High Standard or one of those others. It's like they don't want the gun to go away.
So Henry's not like
Henry innovates though. Henry does new things.
This is true.
Henry,
but I'm just saying Henry is not like the company's been around since the very first Henry. It's like
no. In that respects, they just bought the name from whoever owned it before them. But somebody was like, "Hey, that's a decent brand. Let me buy that off you." And that's capitalism. I don't have a problem.
And then they've done cool things with it, like you said.
Unfortunately, it means that like foreigners can buy it, like they did with a bunch of them lately. So that's annoying. But they can come back. All we got to do is get a bunch of money and have them come back. Wait till they all go to Mars and then buy all the gun companies back again.
So the two that come to mind are the two high powers. From you've got the Springfield version, and then you've got the Gerson version, which is one I'm looking forward to checking out myself.
Did you say Keystone?
Gerson.
No, for the Crickets, the Keystone is what showed up. Oh yeah, Keystone Manufacturing. Mm-hmm. No, I only get Keystone Manufacturing.
Yeah.
Is it Keystone Sporting Arms?
Oh. Maybe it is.
Yeah, well, they're not. They're only showing up as blah 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 belt buckles and Chicago screws. That's not them.
Oh,
That's just,
okay. No, that
so,
ain't them then. Yeah, you're
so
right. Wow.
now
Okay.
I'm almost positive I did see it though. So but the thing is that doesn't make no sense because there's companies like Beretta that are still in here, and so it's not like SHOT Show is removing people that say I'm not there. In other words, I think they're just leaving it. If someone said they're not coming, they're like, okay, well, we're not changing our website.
Well, if you put Vortex in, Vortex is in the book and it was on the website at one time, but if you check the website now, it ain't there. So it's
Okay,
not
so you're
all of
saying
them.
they are
So,
updated.
but Vortex, if you look up, so Vortex, if you do it online, it's not going to show up. But if you
Okay.
go in the book under Vortex and you get the booth number and search the booth number, it's a totally different company with SHOT Show. So maybe they only change it if they've resold the booth or something, right? Resold the
Oh, that
space.
would make sense if they shuffled people. If somebody's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm not going." Okay, guess what? So and so has your booth because they wanted your booth anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that could happen. Or they
Yeah,
played
that may be when they do it. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. If it says I remember seeing Keystone, but I didn't pay any attention to what it said after that. Yeah, that makes a difference.
Well, the thing is, Keystone was in a little dinky booth, and I was like, "That's a dumb place for Keystone." I remember that's why I remember, I remembered it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, what did I do?
So I missed the first part of the show. Were you on location yourself?
Oh no, you got here right when I started. Literally, no, I'm not.
No.
I'll tell you off air, but no.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Stuff. I'm still in Tucson.
Okay.
But also, we didn't have Dan obviously with us. But, I was telling everybody right before you got here that Dan is going to, we're going to attempt to have Dan join us when he's available from Pot of Gold Auctions. He's run gun shops for a while. And what I'm going to be doing at SHOT Show so Dan will be joining us in future Saturday shows. At least I'm going to be sending him an invite when I send one to Clover so that we get insight from somebody who's, answered a lot of questions. And that's the thing. Like, I can know the answer to something, but that doesn't mean I got the best way to answer questions. I got a bunch of people that'll tell me to shut up. You're taking too long to answer my question or whatever. And I'm like, well, on the internet, people, got nothing else to do. They listen to me blabble away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. But anyway, so there's other people that can answer questions more in different points of view. I don't want to say better or worse, but just differently. And in a gun shop owner who deals with that question, I might have an answer, but I've mentioned it before. Like, I'm not the best gun shop employee ever. I might have an answer or even the correct answer in my mind. That doesn't mean it's the best answer. The best answer is the best answer for the customer. And sometimes that's a range of answers. And sometimes that's something that isn't the actual, what's the word? Like the actual, the most accurate answer isn't the best answer, maybe sometimes. Because some people aren't looking for the history of the hammer or the best hammer for doing something they're not doing with. They're just looking for a hammer to get something. And sometimes, yes, it's better to go, are you sure you want a hammer and not a wrench? And then they go, oh yeah, thank you, I needed the wrench. But again, somebody who's been in the shop for a while would know those kind of things. So that'll be interesting. And he's willing, he knows what we're doing, and he's familiar. He's been doing the Gun Freedom Radio podcast for a long time now, co-hosting that. So he gets it. So that's cool. And then I guess to add on to that, one of my goals at SHOT Show would be to meet up with some gun shop owners and invite them on, and not necessarily as regulars unless something clicks or whatever, because I appreciate on a Saturday, this is prime time for a gun shop. But I think it'd be neat for when it's possible or something to have a gun shop owner come in and answer some of these questions too, and then let people ask questions to kind of get some more. Can you imagine if you only go to 2 different kind of gun shops and you don't know there's like 18 different kind of gun shops? So just get some experience and be like, oh, dang, maybe I should start dropping into more gun shops, or I didn't know pawn shops to do that, or that kind of thing. Anyway, so we'll add that aspect potentially going on through the year here. So anyway, I'm guessing about that Beretta. It's a new straight pullback or straight pull bolt. I don't get that. How can that magic happen?
Oh, the straight pull. Okay.
How does it disengage any kind of lock then?
Well, when you go to that final click, the bolt rotates and everything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so how does the straight pull? Does it have like a lever or something you pull and then pull it back? Or, I mean, how does it not open when the gun's going off if it's just pulling straight back? Like, if it's not untorquing a lock, it's like not shifting.
Because until the hammer's dropped, it's got the way I understand it anyway. Till the hammer drops, you've got sort of a mechanism. It's like the same way you can't. It's like the same way on any bolt action. You can't. Well, the vast majority. I'm not going to say there's not.
There's always a way,
but the vast majority, you can't just like open the bolt, pull it straight back and all the way out of the action, right? Like you have to manipulate, pull the trigger on some have an additional lever you pull to get the bolt all the way out. So picture that same principle, but on like an automated style system, right?
Where instead of
with levers and springs
out of the way, it's putting all the lugs that hold the pressure and everything. It's dropping all them out.
Yeah, with springs and lever mechanisms, it's able to do it. Yeah.
Interesting. And by doing all of that clockwork, it doesn't make the trigger pull any worse. I'm assuming if it's a Beretta and people are raving about it, I'm guessing it doesn't.
Now
make a 700-pound trigger to do all that.
The only one I've shot like that is the Savage Impulse, and it was absolutely amazing. And then some of the principle behind, they say, well, it's more accurate because you're pushing forward and locking. It's just going forward and locking the lugs that way, as opposed to going forward and pushing down. So when you go forward and push down, the pressure that's applied to the bolt, to the cartridge head, right, which affects the headspace, is different, right? Is not necessarily consistent every time.
Potentially, with the kind of some bolt actions, could you be shoving a cartridge, a loaded cartridge in there? The bullet seats into the lands and grooves, and then as you close the bolt, it torques the cartridge case and it twists the cartridge case from the bullet. Or is that crazy?
It could. No, absolutely could. I've seen that happen actually with. I've seen that happen on ARs before. Where we do that. Matter of fact, if you didn't have a good crimp. So if you didn't have a good crimp on the projectile, in the early days of 300 Blackout in ARs, there was a big issue with Hornady because Hornady produced 300 Whisper ammunition, right? Well, 300 Whisper ammunition, you could technically shoot 300 Whisper. You could shoot 300 Whisper and 300 Blackout, but you couldn't shoot 300 Blackout and 300 Whisper, right? And so, but because of the projectile length and everything, exactly what you said would happen. It was projectile length and then also the crimp. So what would happen is you would chamber that, and then a lot of times if you didn't want to fire that round and you just extracted it, it would literally rip the brass off of the projectile, right? And it would kick the brass out and powder, unburnt powder and everything else. And you're like, what's going on? Once you fired it, it was fine. But if you're ever chambering around, you needed to fire that round. You know what I mean? And Hornady eventually fixed that. That was in the very early days, like I said, of 300 Blackout coming out. And they marked their boxes, 300 Whisper / 300 Blackout instead of, actually changing things and putting more of a little crimp in there and some other little tweaks, minor tweaks they needed to do. And so had that issue quite often with that Hornady factory ammunition. In the days of 300 Blackout, it was interesting. So no, you're absolutely right. But what I was getting at was, headspace is a thing, and headspace affects accuracy, and headspace has to do with the, basically the distance between the back of the cartridge head and the bolt face. And so, getting that consistently, right? So the way the straight pull works. Again, proponents of straight pull are going to tell you this. I don't subscribe one way or the other. I think really nice standard bolt action rifles can do just as good a job.
Any good working gun is going to work good. Right?
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's BS, but I'm also not saying it's the end all be all. But they just say it's a more consistent lockup. Straight pull is just a more consistent lockup is all.
Well, consistency is usually what you want, but there's also people that are going to be like, "Oh, there's something new. Move over, bacon."
Heck yeah, and it's not new. Straight pull's been around.
I just mean a new model or a new. I mean, there's. Well, I wouldn't say there's never anything new. I heard somebody saying that yesterday, I think, which is crazy. But to suggest that, anyway, I'm just saying, that there's people.
So that falls into. Of course, the Savage Impulse came out last year, but yeah, with that Beretta and the Savage and the straight pulls, we were talking about the old school coming back. Straight pulls an old school thing. Most modern people, that only got into guns recently, haven't been paying attention, will see a straight bull and go, whoa, what the crap is this? I'm getting that now, to go on a bit of a little rant here, but I'm getting that now with the little heritage single action revolvers like the barkeeps, right? They're not long enough barrel to have an extractor. And people are like, I wouldn't have a handgun that didn't have any type of way to get the bullets out, extract it. You got to use a stick. And I'm thinking, me, myself, owning a lot of old revolvers. How many old revolvers have a fixed cylinder? In other words, it doesn't swing out. And in order to unload it, you have to pull the cylinder. You're an NAA guy, right? North American Arms Mini Revolver. So I know you're familiar with this. But how many do you have to pull the cylinder out and then use the cylinder pin to knock your rounds out? That's not an uncommon thing. It's not anything new. And people want to complain that the heritage barkeep is
not new. The first cartridge revolvers, the Smith & Wesson Model 1, and it has a bulb thing hanging underneath the barrel. What do you think that's for? You take the cylinder out, you poke that through and through to knock the cartridges out, which were the first cartridges ever made. The first one ever. You had to manually take it out and poke them out because can you imagine the inconsistency of those cartridges, those cases? Holy moly.
Yeah.
I would definitely take a handful.
So it's interesting when you get people that think something's new and it's not, right? Like, oh, this is all new and I don't understand, and it's like, well, first of all, it's not new. So that negates all of your I don't understand, because you don't understand because you don't realize that it's old and you don't know all the history. Can you have an opinion about something that you know little about? Right?
Yeah. I mean, to some extent, I think you can have opinions, but yeah, whether or not they're going to be like valuable or, useful. But at the same time, sometimes an opinion that doesn't hit target is still, can be useful in some way, can be effective. It's just maybe not for what it planned to be. Well, but anyway, I'm just trying to be.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with posing questions, because sometimes you're like, whoa, I didn't think about that. Right. So that's all part of the Q&A here. There's nothing wrong with that.
People were going to ask that kind of question, and even though it has no application of what we're talking about, now I know that there's going to be questions from that, from out of thin air like that. So, there's ways.
Well, I've never looked at it that way, right? It's like, oh, I know this has existed for a long time, but because you just now figured out this existed, you have a different set of thinking about it, and so you ask a question that I never even thought to ask.
We're seeing that a lot, actually, because I'm thinking with these new gun owners, I'm calling these new ones the last couple of years, everybody keeps acting like there's all these new gun owners. For the most part, I would keep thinking of gun owners as the people that grew up with them and then people that didn't. And for years, forever, for my entire experience online, it's been a novel, interesting thing that most people who are into guns grew up with them and were interested in some way or another, but at least grew up with them, right? Maybe one in the closet, maybe every weekend they were shooting, but grew up with them. Versus every once in a while, we'd find somebody who's like, oh, I never grew up with guns for some reason, and now I'm into them as an adult. And it would be like, oh, that's interesting, but, let's carry on. Now it's like a very much higher, maybe even opposite. Maybe the people who grew up with guns is the minority. No, that's not true. The people online who grew up with guns might be the minority at this point. Because there's so many new gun owners that are fluent online and then became gun owners recently or whatever. But anyway, I mean, that element of it is certainly a change in the community. So here's something I heard somebody rage against. There is no community. That's a fake word. Actually, it was somebody who I value their opinion on stuff, so that's why I'm bringing it up. They were really concerned about community, that the firearms community is this fake term. There's the industry, and then the community is a fake divisive word to divide us. I'm going to go pee real quick. What do you think of that concept? Is community a valid description? Is that a word of the enemy is used against it?
I don't know. I think when you get into that, I mean, I've always, when I've done my podcast, talk about bringing together the industry and community, because I do see there being a divide to an extent between those two. But when you get into the community, I think it's that way because I look at it, and maybe some people don't grow up in a situation, or they've never lived in or been a part of the situation that was like that. But when you talk about a community, I'm thinking of it in terms of a small town. And so you have small towns, so you have the people that live in the quote unquote suburbs area. You have people that live in the wealthy neighborhoods. You have people that live in the You have people that live in the projects. You have people that live in the apartment complexes, right? All colors of race and all different types of religions and all different, you know, socioeconomic status and everything that goes into play, right? But then at the end of the day, you know, you look at the industry as the businesses in town, right? That's the industry. So put it in that perspective, right? And so it's the business jobs to be there, kind of cater to the entire people of the community, right? And so you've got that community, you've got people that are into sports, you've got people that are into various aspects of what goes on, you know, in that community. So, you know, we take it and we say that this town is, you know, whatever, the gun channels town population, whatever, 4,000. So, you know, the what ties that all together is firearms. Now, some people, you know, again, they have their own thing. I mean, instead of going to work making YouTube videos, they go to work with our gun rights and so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, with something like SHOT Show, it's an industry show, and we can all get together the same way we would end up meeting each other, coming together, shopping in the grocery store, right? Or we even do that at the local gun shops, right? It's like, how many times you're in a local gun shop and you're there with somebody buying their first gun? You're there with somebody that doesn't know hardly anything. You're there with the old geezers at the end that know everything. You're there with the high-end guy that just bought a $4,000 rifle. You're there with a person that's, you know, he don't care. He just buys all the cheap stuff. He's buying a Larson or a High Point or something. You know, the diversity also, along with community. I think diversity gets a bad rap too. More from the political.
In a shop, you might get all those people, but in a gun show, they're all at the same time. I was just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think community gets a bad rap a lot of times for the same reason that diversity gets a bad rap. There's, you know, there starts to become political conjecture around it. And it's a matter of perspective. Like I said, I want, you know, I won't talk bad about anybody that has a different perspective and see something a different way, because they're, you know, the way they're looking at it is I would have to sit down and have a conversation with that person. And I would wager that if they say, we don't really have a community, I don't agree with that construct or that concept, I would wager that if we sat down and had a conversation with that person, we would still probably agree on 99% of everything, right? There's just the way in which we're going about it in our perspectives and, you know, life experiences and everything else is just different.
They can't acknowledge, they would still have to, if that person was questioned, they would have to acknowledge all the things that exist. And then you'd say, well, then what do you call that? And they would just have a different name for the description of that same concept, right? Because they got to acknowledge that there's more layers to it, especially the person I'm talking about. Like, they understand that there's the gun doesn't just appear out of thin air, right? Like that, you know, it has to be.
They're viewing, I think what's happening when you have that happen, I think you have people that see community and think that we're all sitting around a campfire singing Kumbaya, right? That's what they're thinking.
Or some sort of like, that's what the goal is. Like, everyone needs to be in groups because we're a community or something. Maybe commune, like, part of community.
Right. Yeah, I think so. They're thinking that, you know, nobody gets upset, nobody gets mad, nobody says anything bad about anybody else. It's all
wrong with community. It's just communist and unity smashed together. It's got to be
right. That's true. Yeah. It's almost the exact same letters, isn't it?
I don't know. It sounds like it is. Question is every gun owner part of the gun community?
No.
Yeah. They're just not inactive, or they're just
that's true. Yeah,
they would be. Community that gives a shit. But yeah, I mean, if they got a gun, then yeah. And here's the thing: do you have to own a gun to be in the gun community? Nope.
So, bigger question: do you have to even be aware of or acknowledge that you're in the gun community to actually be a part of the gun?
Exactly. Yeah, the mopes who don't want to participate. Guess what? They're in the group of mopes that don't want to participate.
You're in there whether you want to be participated or not. You're still there, right? Yeah. Like use my city, use my little country town analogy I was talking about earlier. those are just the hermits. Those are the people that they order DoorDash and, delivery and Amazon, and they never leave their house. But guess what? They still live in the community. They still use the local water supply. They still, are affected by natural disasters. They're still, and use natural disasters in terms of anti-gun legislation, right? It's like ultimately they're still affected. Whether they care about, effects outside their own home or whatever, totally different subject. They're still affected.
You can value participation or have a good or bad experience with participation in the past. Like, not everybody has to participate in community the same way either. That's the thing, right? Like, there could be people that are at the parades, and there's people that are in the parades, and there's people that are like, dang it, there's another parade, and that's going to cause traffic, right? And there's people that don't even know the parade happened, right? They're in the community, but they're on vacation or something. Like, there's no obligation. That's the cool part of being in this country, and you're also allowed to change. You could say, I don't care about parades because I can't get to my party in time. And you meet that girl at the party and you have kids, and guess who's going to the parade enthusiastically because you're watching your kids enjoy a parade. Like, that's all the same person, and you're allowed to be right every single time, right? That's the big thing, is that's the part of the community, right? Let's get people off of their glitch and realize that we're all evolving and having stories, and sometimes they parallel, sometimes they cross, and most of the time we're all going in the same direction. Just leave each other alone.
Right.
Occasionally hang out, and occasionally we don't have to talk to each other.
Yep.
Every once in a while, you do got to talk to each other, right? Sometimes it's at a rally when the other side instigated it, or it's necessary to keep the other side from thinking they got the right to instigate shit, right? And sometimes it's at a gun show where it's like, well, it's the most efficient way to get people together, so let's do it. But they're both good for you. It's just like inoculations where, okay, I know there's a-hole gun owners. They're super rich, jerk, pompous, know-it-all, weird, hippie, whatever, like all the different angles that you might not like. But if you don't ever talk to them, then you don't realize that we're a community and that we're stronger together. We're going to win with revolvers and black powder and archery and crossbows and knives and long range and everything, even 9mm.
Yep.
They're just going to be the last ones, and they're going to say they took the credit for everything, but they're just going to not really do much. Cause a lot of troubles and then act like they solved all the problems. But anyway, so that was a weird tangent. I don't know. We're about 1:37, so that's a weird time. Do you want to go to the top or another 20 minutes?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we can. Let's do that.
I don't know. We'll say if there's questions coming in, because going back and reading old questions is kind of stale. It's like looking at old donuts. He's in Vegas, and you want him to eat old donuts. How's the town? Have you driven around? Is it crowded? Is it dead? It's
actually not.
something?
It is, I would say, from what we've seen so far, I wouldn't say dead, but it's definitely laid back, right? It's on like the...
Considering you're there on a Saturday, right? It's Saturday right now.
Dude, hotel parking lot on a Saturday, and you know where we're at.
No, do I?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
I didn't tell you, but because you stayed here before.
Oh no, if you're talking about the Instagram picture, I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about then.
So
although
anyway,
like you're not underneath of the flamingo sign or whatever.
No, I mean I'm not, but I'm just saying it's Saturday, right?
No, you're right.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 8 cars literally in the parking lot area here.
Oh wow. Yeah. And nobody driving by, or is it normal?
Well, I mean, right now there's traffic from the light, which is right out front, backed up to where I'm at in the parking lot, one way, and there's no traffic there with a motorcycle the other way. So it's like, it's just not. I wouldn't say it's dead. Streets rolled up dead, but it's not super bumper to bumper traffic busy. Easy. So I'd say it's comfortable. Now, how's that going to change between now and, because everybody is going to start getting in today, right? Through today and tomorrow. So once everybody starts getting in and this, that, and the other, what's it all going to look like? Once we get kind of down around Sands and down around the Strip playing around, which we hadn't been there yet. What's that look like? I don't know. But seems pretty laid back. I wouldn't say dead, but definitely laid back. And maybe that's indicative of what, everything, how the week's going to go and the show's going to go. I don't know. Maybe it'll be kind of a laid back experience, which to me will be kind of weird for SHOT Show. Won't necessarily be bad, but it'll be weird.
Every single thing about it's going to be weird because there's nothing. There's nothing. And now that I'm thinking about it more and more, there's very little that's going to be similar to past shots.
Right.
It's going to be different. Drew was saying you should hit Tacos El Gordo. That place is awesome. So I started looking for it, and it looks like it's literally across the street in the fancy casino across the street.
Uh-huh.
Have you been there before?
Across the street.
Okay, so if you went
where
out
I'm at?
the smokers area, no. If you went out the smokers area from shot, no, wait, is this? Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it is. You go out the front door where the Ubers and the smokers area are, and then that street. If you went over to the strip and went north towards the Pawn Stars thing, like about a block, on the other side, the Wynn, that big fancy casino that if you're in the smokers area, you're looking at it. It's on the other side of that. So you could walk to it technically. I wouldn't after SHOT Show ever, but some people could walk to that. I would never drive to it. So the answer to your question is I'm not going to go there because there's too many places in Vegas I can go that I don't got to park somewhere else and walk all the way over to it because this green line is the strip. So that means you got to go somewhere else and walk over to the strip. And I never go to the strip. The only time I go to the strip is if like my family goes to Vegas, and this hasn't been in decades, but like if my family went to Vegas and like nieces and nephews wanted to go walk around and what I'm saying, like that kind of thing. Okay. But I don't go walk the strip unless I'm forced to, basically. So I wouldn't go there unless there's another location in town. You know what I mean? Because I got a car, I can go wherever I want.
Something important or something interesting, not important, but something interesting that kind of goes along with, asking about how it is. So the hotel casino place directly across from where I'm at now, you're familiar with that, right? It's usually lit up at night with all the neon lights and all that kind of stuff, right? So last night I didn't pay much attention. I was out here smoking and other things, and come out this morning, I was smoking, and the guy come around, and he was sweeping the parking lot, whatever. Anyway, I had some trash in the car, and I asked him, could I put it in this trash can? And we got to talking, and he's like, yeah, since they closed down the place across the street. And I look over there, and I'm like, well, snap, there's no cars anywhere over there. And I'm like, oh, snap, the lights wasn't on or anything over there last night. So it's completely shut down.
The fancy one, the tutti frutti looking thing across the street?
Yeah, it's all lit up at night with all the neon lights and other things on the side.
Or something.
Ghost town, man. Ghost town. Ain't a car there, ain't nothing. He said it's been shut down.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How about, well, I don't want to get into it. So we'll talk about that stuff off air. Anyway, so Smeggy.
Let's get a question.
Something about the biscuit. And I'll tell him where to get them later. And then
I told him I couldn't divulge that information publicly, but I'll let him know.
Yeah. We just don't want to say so that people don't hork or nothing. I was going to say I did the SHOT Show bingo last night and then finished it up today, I think. So I'll just run that past everybody. So each year I do a bingo. I've been doing it since a long time. There's the ones from 2016 up to now. So I went through and I didn't want to leave some of them in there because I've just been lazy and I've just been basically just redoing the card for the last couple of years. So I redid the card and got a bunch of ideas for folks to put better topics in here. So I guess after I read these off or let you see what we're talking about here, let me know if I should bother with the rules. Like if people are going to really want to play bingo, because it takes a little while to put the rules together and usually nobody actually plays. They just kind of look at it, but on Instagram or whatever, but I'd be happy to put the rules together if there's enough people that would want to actually play. And then we can all, like everybody that plays puts in a patch or a sticker or something. And then the winners get a pile of stickers or something. Right. So basically it's bingo. We all know what that is. Cool. And back in the olden days of the forums, people would be sarcastic, especially the people that don't go or like don't ever participate and are looking for ways to, call shots. Like, oh, I'll bet you this will fail. Like, I'll bet you there's going to be people with those little carts or whatever. I'll bet you there's going to be a booth fade, right? So there was all these, like, whatever you call those, like little snarky things. So it was like a comedy thing and everybody thought it was funny, but I thought there was potential to it. So I decided to start making one that had more like realistic stuff so that people that were having fun at SHOT Show, wanted to participate, could get some ideas and maybe some challenges, right? Some inspiration. So that's what the goal is. And then for years, I just phoned it in by redoing it just as a, as a option. So people that might want to, but nobody really did. I don't know if you guys ever even did, but I'm going to put it out there again. Here's what the new batch of stuff is. So I'll just read them off and then we'll get into some of the nuance of it. But there's 25 of these challenges or things you can do. And then each one you'd accomplish it, right? And now you'd have that space on the bingo card, right? So some of them are actions, some of them are get out of your comfort zone. So that's what the font and the colors are to indicate like what the concept is. But for the most part, I think you'll get the gist of it. So we got attend an event, take a photo of a dog, the best swag, learn something new, thank a cop or service member, photograph something you never knew existed, set a 2A goal, Second Amendment focus goal, suggest something for the next year's SHOT Show, meet a book author, a gun book author, your favorite knife at SHOT, shake hands with a firearms inventor. That was a new one this year. Assist the show staff. That was from Pat Hirsch. Awesome one. I really like that one. Buy a meal for a veteran or active duty service member. Best business card at SHOT Show. Talk to an open carry advocate. That's a new one this year. That's a challenge. How would you even know, right? That's going to be a tough one for people to achieve. Donate to a 2A.org. So anything that's Second Amendment related, find a way to donate your time, whatever, be creative. Find someone who traveled further to the show. We figure you're going to try to hork that one. So find someone who traveled further to the show than you did, right? So some people, Tony, it's going to be, and there was a debate on whether that should be drive. We ended up with traveled so that it didn't become a debate about, that nobody who flew could be involved.
Yeah.
So
drive, I don't know if there'll be that many for the drive portion of it, but yeah, definitely.
Well, it depends on if you're taking and then are you cheating if you're taking your booth and you have to drive? You know what I mean? Or if you're getting paid to take your Corvette or something, and it's like
if you're getting paid to drive, yeah, right.
So then you got talk to a keynote speaker, which is a new one. So talk to a keynote speaker. Think about all that could entail. That's a lot, right? You got ask the ATF or FBI a question. That's an OG that's been in there forever. Find and share some Second Amendment history. Get or trade a patch. Schedule an interview for after the show. Go to a hosted breakfast. That one was ghosts. And we went back and forth on if it should be like go to a hosted meal and everything. But we stayed with breakfast, meaning like you got to get your ass up and find a breakfast, which is tough to find and then get your ass motivated to get to. So that'll be another tough one. These aren't just easy ones. Favorite booth at SHOT Show. So that's pretty easy. And then ask a firearms instructor a question to get people out there talking to instructors, right? Doing like the train and learn concept. Get some mix between media and instruction so they can both learn from each other. All right. So, so that's the goal. And then, like I say, if people want, I have kind of like I was saying, like sort of the thing, get you out of your comfort zone, some of the easy stuff, like just your favorite thing or the best thing or whatever. But even then, like best business card, a lot of people aren't thinking about looking at business cards or how they're going to keep business cards. So, some of these things hopefully get people thinking, especially when you're sitting on a plane, you're waiting for something, you're waiting for an appointment. It's these little things that kernels or these little nuggets that hopefully can get people out of a slump or, keep them motivated, being productive when you're just sitting there, that kind of thing. So anyway, so you've got the standard straight across diagonals, but then I figured the green, if you get all 5 green, that's a bingo. And then I think that was it. So, you've got your standard patterns, and then some of these are kind of, talk to somebody, meet somebody, thank somebody, shake hands, ask a question, get out there and meet people. And those might be things that are tough for some people, again, and that's perfect time to do it. There's almost no consequences other than positive. You're either going to have a new relationship with somebody, or you're going to learn, about how to, either approach somebody or answer questions or present your project. It's like a, what do they call that? Like I can't think of what I'm trying to think of, like a fast forward version of or what do they call it? Like speed dating. It's like a speed dating version of capitalism. Like you could literally just, if you didn't know, if like, for example, if you're someone who's got a business, any kind of business really, and you're not good or not familiar yet with how to present that business or your presentation or whatever, go downstairs, go to the law enforcement, go wherever it's least likely that you're going to find somebody that you're going to have a bad first impression with, and practice and practice and practice. Just like when we would talk about playing craps in the hotel and go downstairs and try to play craps for real, practice in some part of SHOT Show where you're, talking to manufacturers and material suppliers, and they're like, okay, well, we're really happy about that, but we don't care. Thank you. And now you're real comfortable talking to people and you've got your stuff down, and now you jump over and talk to that revolver person that you're hoping you could have a good conversation with.
Well, one good thing with the bingo that we've done in the past too is use that for after action, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll plan on I'll do that. I'll plan a specific SHOT Show bingo to see who won. And then depending on who decided to get in on it, maybe I'll schedule it, and whoever wants to get in on it can just pledge whatever they want in the comments or whatever to the upcoming video type of thing. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I think you can do that. No, you can't type comments to an up. You can only type comments in the side comments, so they're not going to last. They're perishable. They'll expire.
As long as it is, no, you can, as long as it's scheduled.
They'll stay in there.
Comment. You can comment, not in the live, but you can comment down below.
You're saying if it's scheduled? Oh, you're saying no, a scheduled live show. But you're saying a scheduled video, yeah, but not a
scheduled live show. You can comment below.
Oh well, let me go verify that because I didn't think I could because I tried that before. I thought
I'm pretty sure you can.
I'm sure I got scheduled videos. I usually have a bunch. Oh shit! I didn't move my one. I got to move my one to next Christmas. Anyway, here's one that's coming up, and you can side chat, but I can't. Maybe it's because it's my own video. I can't chat on it.
I don't know. I'll have to look.
Anyway, but anyway, so all I'm saying is whoever wants to get in, we can figure it out. There's got to be some way we can figure out who wants to participate, and then have that pile of loot, and then divide it up 5 ways or come up with whatever patterns we're going to go with.
Right.
Yeah, that's what King. I think I agree with you. You have to wait most of the time until it shows up. It might have something to do with us launching it in StreamYard. I almost launch everything from StreamYard, and that is technically different than the people that open up YouTube and schedule live stuff. Like I schedule stuff so that I can have people in here. Like I wouldn't even consider starting a live thing that only I can be in. But there's people that only do it that way, and that might be a different. I guess it's like just turning on the switch from a different remote or something. It gives you more options, maybe.
Right.
Oh, we have a question. Weston saying, when is the next Ruger Marlin lever action supposed to come out? Somebody else had asked about the Marlin in the Ruger booth, right? And I'm leaving that to Clover and these people that know what they're even asking. I'll try. I mean, I'll try hard, but I suck at trying to remember guns. Sometimes I can remember something like a Marlin in a Ruger booth, but if I'm walking around like, dang, did you see my project this year? I'm going to take that poster I made of everybody's cartoon and have them all try to get them all to sign next to their cartoon. Sort of like what I did with the cards, right? Except to the activists on that poster. So if I'm thinking about that, I'll probably walk right past that Ruger thing that you wanted me to look at like 4 times. Just because I walked past that Ruger thing for 16 years. I just don't think about looking in the Ruger booth very often.
Well, I had thought Ruger was out.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it's hard to say. Every time I look at the Instagram for SHOT Show, like Winchester.
Well, unless you have seen an actual press release from the company, right? The rest of it's hearsay. Who knows?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm looking at the setups, and you see like the Winchester boxes and booth. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be there if the booth is there, unless they're just going to have the booth. Because that's what we were talking about. That if that's sort of an autopilot thing, like, I already sent my booth and it's paid for. Well, then I guess the booth's going to be there, and they're going to put up a sign that says "See ya," but the booth will still be there. Because it's not like they can just say, "Oh, you know what? Out of these 4,400 booths, pull that one and that one." Like, no, they're just going to go up because you paid for it already. Like. The best we can do is like leave them in the boxes in the booth, but I've seen that before where there's just the moving crates in the booth and they throw a sheet over it. But that's about the best you can hope for. I'm guessing the in and out process is like they're in some kind of assembly line order, and there's no way they're just gonna pull a booth, especially something the size of Ruger, just out of the mix, unless it was a massive thing like they said, we're leaving shot forever, give us our booth back.
Right.
I don't think anybody's doing that. They're all like, oh, blah blah blah, here's a bunch of money, right? None of them are like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate you, and we're not in the industry anymore, we're not
Right.
part of this community. Let's see. So Andrew's asking, who has the best freebies? Well, it's not the same. And it'll be whoever's the most desperate, whoever's got the most money, whoever got talked into it, whoever has a marketing person who that's their thing. Like, I don't know the rhyme or reason to it. Traditionally, Geisley is all in. Like, you either like Geisley or you don't, but wow, they go all in with their stuff. They're decent with it. And because of that, it doesn't have much value. It's so weird, but they saturate, so therefore people use it as their like default token trade item or whatever. Like, oh, it's a patch for a patch. Here's the Geisley patch. What do I get? So then there's I don't know, like I can't even think. There's things like LaRue has their bottle openers, which are traditional. So there's people that'll have a LaRue Armadillo bottle opener for dozen for occasions and for SHOT Show and for other things. So there's those kind of things that exist. There's badge holders, there's different things.
Grid,
go ahead.
Grid Defense traditionally, and I don't know if they're going to be there or not, but they'll traditionally do a pretty neat patch, and they change it up for every SHOT Show. And it them being a smaller company, it's fairly limited too. You know what I'm saying? They don't have thousands of patches. So, and they usually have the, cartoon pop culture. Like they had the slutty Wendy's girl, and they had Colonel Sanders one year, and then they had the Flintstones one year, and they had, you know what I mean? Those types of patches that are visually fairly appealing and stuff. And like I said, they're one of them things where they're pretty limited. And some of the companies are that way. You never really know when you talk about that. I mean, there's one I've got a set, and I actually gave a set away, and I didn't know they were going to be this way. But it's We Won Tactical, WEEONE. We Won Tactical. That was upstairs in the pop-up showcase one year. And I called them. They had two different patches. One was like a little baby
girl, big and little.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they did. They had the big ones and the little ones. Yeah. But they had like the baby boy and the baby girl skull and crossbones. And the big ones, once I got back home, and I didn't know this, I got an extra condom out of an extra pair of the big ones just to give away. And because I definitely wanted to keep mine. And shoot, I got home, and it's always fun after SHOT Show to get on eBay and look at patches and look at the people that are selling them, which is in a way a sad part of it, I guess. But holy crap, man, it was like $70 or something for a set of those patches on eBay. And I mean, they sold for that much. It was crazy. And this was just a little unknown company at SHOT. So it's interesting how
it was a really good patch. Like,
it was.
And it was well made, and it was like dimensional. It was just a super cool patch. It was like a fidget spinner. You picked it up and you were like, well, I'm not going to put this down just yet. Like, I don't even know what this is. I'm looking at it for a while.
Yeah. That's another cool thing is you talk about the Geisleys and all that, and that's true. But sometimes it's the small companies that when you talk about their swag or their patches or whatever, that's the most unique, and they're a little more rare. And so when you're
in the game, then there's a whole subculture of things. Like, I'm sure there's hat pins that I don't know about, or coins. I'm sure, like, I kind of know the coins, I just don't get into it. And then patches is my thing more, but badge holders, like, there's things that these parts of the community that people dig, that once the manufacturer or whoever is, like, again, their marketing person or their daughter or their husband or whatever has like an interest in poker chips, and guess what, that company has poker chips every year, and if that becomes a thing, then they really get into it sometimes. And if they've got an in with a poker chip friend or something, like a poker chip manufacturer, then they maybe go all out. And that's what tends to happen with patches, is somebody who digs it ends up meeting up eventually with somebody who can facilitate something wild, and then they use SHOT Show as their excuse to go nuts.
Right.
And those you're only going to get maybe 25 or 50 at the show, and you got to either know them or have figured out something ahead of time on a forum, or ideally have conversations like this and somebody goes, hey, the wee ones are back, and we all run over there and grab dozens of them, and then everybody else is like, what? And then we make a fortune. But anyway, I think that when people buy stuff and then sell it, it's kind of weird, but I see it at the Vegas gun show right after SHOT Show, and it's weird. Like, there's a value to everything right after it comes out, because I imagine a bunch of people are butthurt because they got a collection and they couldn't get there, or they wanted to get something, especially this year, right? So there's going to be like a weird high demand for stuff, and then at some point, all of a sudden, it's going to not be there, and then the stuff will all go down to $1 sometimes, and then something will happen, and then they're all going to go off in their own direction. So that part of it is good or bad. It's just interesting. It's just another aspect. Like I say, there must be going on. Smeggy said something about hats. I bet you that happens with hats. Like, I'm not a hat guy, but I know people that have had hat collections.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And
I was talking with. I was in on a chat.
Always wanted to get like PSAs this or CZs that, right? Like, that person's gonna have a goal at SHOT Show that's different.
Well, I was in a live chat. I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, and it was with some folks that I don't normally go into a live chat with, and one of them was talking about how he one of his deals every year was how many hats can he get, right? Like, he sets a goal to break his previous record with how many hats can he come home with, right? And talking about different hats, right? Not like one company and he gets 10 hats, but I think his record is like 37 hats. Think about that for a minute. 37, that's over 3 dozen hats, right? That's a lot of freaking hats.
I've done that before. Joe like collecting hats like a freaking nut, and he keeps most of them. But then I'll get his double or stuff, or the ones he doesn't like. And I don't like hats. They cost like $8 to ship, and nobody wants a hat that bad, especially if it was a free hat. So for me, hats are like, if they fit in a bubble wrap bag, you can have them, but don't get all mad if it was in a bubble wrap bag and not a fancy, like, well, I keep saying $8. It used to be $8, but everything else probably like $14 to ship a hat.
I can ship a hat. I shipped mine first class in a 6x6x6, and I picked those boxes up for, you got packing tape, you got a label, all of that factors in, of course.
Well, you can get the hat box for free from the post office. It's just that it's not flat rate. It costs money, however much it flat, how much that costs.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it's $4.38 is the postage on a hat. Now, if you add extra swag and stuff, but then you got to buy, it costs $5 plus. By the time you got the box, the label, you know what I'm saying? The other, everything you need, and the postage.
$5 to ship them things?
You're going to burn.
I thought
you're going to burn
$14.
No, I can ship caps for about $5 as long as you're careful with how much other stuff you ship. Yeah,
in the $8 bag, I'm cramming them in. So maybe I will go. I'll try to grab some hats. I'm not guaranteeing nothing, because I was going to say hats are one of those things that a lot of people get. I mean, they're made in America. A lot of times you get the hat made in the United States and the embroidery and everything done on it in the United States, which is a plus. And
well, they will.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say even the like. See, I wear structured caps, right? And caps, not hats, is what I normally say. But I wear structured, meaning the front has got that reinforcement behind it. And different people like different stuff, but I just like a structured cap. But the structured cap's just more rigid, and so a 6x6x6 box, you have to tweak it, and most people tweak the brim of their hat anyway. They don't wear it flat. But if you tweak it just a little bit, it fits perfectly in a 6x6x6. So no wasted space, no added weight for extra box, But again, I think we probably got off into stuff that, could be discussed off air. But yeah.
Oh, I don't care. I'll talk about that stuff. I was going to mention, since Meggie said grab them one, I'll grab them one. In fact, any Patreon, just go over to Patreon and tell me what to grab you. I'll grab them if I can. If it's not too heavy, I'm empty. But Tony's saying 36. That's a lot. Yeah, totally. Just the cat in the hat. Those things, one on top of each other. You're like, there's no reason you can't wear a big thick hat.
Right.
This is the style where I come from.
Well, you could very easily, all you need is some safety pins, right? And just pin them one on top of the other. Walk around with them. Heck yeah. Or try to balance them.
I'm using the star feature. So as we bypass comments, I've been starring them so that I can go back and grab them. It highlights them, and then so we don't miss some stuff. So if I miss something, let me know. But I'm trying to go back here. So Smeggy said, do an Instagram post about the bingo and have people comment they are playing and what they're wagering, I would and I will. But the thing is, one, I'm trying to get away from Instagram and YouTube. I know that's tough, but I'm trying to get off of them. So I think I want to have it more multi-platform for sure. And I'd like to let the people on the Rumbles and the, I don't want to say Parlor because I don't use that one yet. What's that other one that everybody's using nowadays? The Getter. So I'm going to try putting it on the other platforms and then try to bring everybody to some place. Maybe Tactical Quiz would be a good place for the bingo. Yeah. Tacticalquiz.com. It's a website just sitting there doing nothing right now. I'll probably put the bingo over there. I'm not going to buy another freaking domain name for bingo. I'm just going to put it on Tactical Quiz. But then that way I'll bring people to a website. That'll let everybody also know, hey, you don't have to do stuff on these stupid platforms. You can use the platforms to announce something and then drag them over here to do it. And then we'll just go on. Well, going forward, I'm going to start streaming on a lot more platforms. I'm going to attempt to stream on all of them and see which ones are good for multicasting or whatever. But then we'll do some kind of a multicast, like jump into StreamYard because that's what we're paying for and it seems to work good. We'll talk about why, and I guess I could just say because you don't have to log in and it's fairly easy for people who aren't familiar with this to just log in. All they need is a microphone and then they can participate and we can have 10 people until something comes along that lets us have more than 10 and it isn't based in China, then I'm okay with StreamYard, right? So the idea is StreamYard also has a pretty decent, powerful way to stream. I can stream to GunTube. I've successfully streamed to GunTube and it renders on GunTube as a video from StreamYard while I'm streaming to YouTube. When I remember, that's how I do the weekly wrap-ups. So do something like that with the SHOT Show bingo. So let everybody know, as I post this stuff, I'll let everybody know when that'll be. But I'm guessing the week after, if you go too far after, everybody starts forgetting it and people are sick of SHOT Show. But right after everybody's coming home. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I talk Ghost into doing it on his Tuesday show unless he's got something else coming up. And then that way I'm not corking him and we can do it on a Tuesday unless he usually does his show right when the auctions are going. So I don't know if Pot of Gold's got an auction. I want to put some stuff in those auctions, but maybe Wednesday. What am I corking on Wednesday? Nothing, just Matt.
Yep.
So maybe Wednesday after SHOT. Monday's way too soon. I don't think everybody's even home. Head back on their shoulders Monday, and if everybody's sick and stuff, just not because of this bullshit, just because SHOT makes everybody sick and orderly. Wednesday might give them a chance to get some food, get back to being able to chat.
Hey, I'm gonna jump because I've got to go get some stuff done.
Right on. Thanks for jumping in for so long. Have a good time up there. See you in a bit.
Well, yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.
So that was Smeggy's. I'll unstar that one. Does SHOT Show have any gun girls hanging around? No, not anymore. Since 2009, for sure, Florida had the last real booth bunnies. And girls that didn't know what they were holding. 10. I mean, there's good-looking girls at SHOT Show, but they're not booth bunnies, if that's what you mean. Gun girls, like where the Instagrammers that were just good-looking girls that would hold a gun and take pictures for Instagram. When did that start? 13, 14, and then they ended by 17, I think. So they did exist, but not anymore. I haven't seen that kind of stuff since SHOT Show went woke. So now we're so woke, we won't stand for that kind of exploitation. We don't even want to know what gender that's exploiting anymore. Clover Tech looks like, so he doesn't even know. I should have got to that one sooner, sorry. But I imagine we'll figure it out when we go there. Ruger's a pretty big booth to not be there. Tony is saying, and where is Tony, by the way? Did you say something about getting ready to fly, I think? Oh yeah, you said something about the snow, and I gave you a solution to that. So Double Star had limited edition SHOT Show patches in 20. I remember one of my Double Stars is glow in the dark, right? And it looks like a diamond or something, or is it a dragon looking diamond shape? And mine was one, and then I think there was another one that I didn't get, or I don't remember if I have it. But what I had done 2 months ago, a month and 2 months, maybe 3 months ago, I guess, it's hard to remember. I had some time and I was trying to do a project where I'm taking pictures of all my patches so I can put them on. Oh, wait a minute. I can just show you what I'm doing. What am I talking about? I'm attempting to put all my patches online. So, so that we can do things like what we're about to do right now. As soon as I can type it. Boom. Go here and then go here and then type in double star. Boom. What, I got to hit enter also? Come on, website. So I got this. Oh, snap. Is that the ones that did the ARs? Oh, yeah. So now I can go to the ones that look like firearms. If you want to go here, you can go here. Oh, look who's at the top of this page. Somebody knew what was happening here and set me up. Boom. So then you go here and then you zoom in. So yeah, that you're talking about this series. Underneath of this dude in the bathtub, you got this one. So this is the year that I had my AKs up there. So I was able, I was able to trade for the whole set, I think, or at least the whole set and a couple. I got this tan one, green one, red one, gray one, and this other color one. I really don't know enough to remember which ones were from SHOT Show, but I believe there was like a couple, 4 even from SHOT Show, and then the other one they were like, "Hey, you want this one also?" Because we were doing some trades. So I ended up, I thought one of them was like not even a SHOT Show one; it was just another one that they had. So yeah, those were neat. But I was thinking of, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I thought that they had one that was like a dragon-looking thing. Oh, there you go. Right on. All right. Well, I guess Clover's out of here, and we've gone for 2 hours. I really want to keep this show an hour. It'll probably end up 2 hours, especially if Dan jumps in and we end up, having 3 people. I think what we're going to do, just so that it doesn't go forever, is we'll do a rotation type of thing where if there's 3 people on the panel, only 2 of us will chime in. So we'll let somebody always sit out and, let the other 2 do their thing so that it doesn't turn into you only get 2 questions addressed in 2 hours or something. So with that, we had some fun chatting on weekends. Saturdays, we go live. Where did I put all my links? We go live and go to the site called, what's happening? What is happening? This one. We go to the site called askgunquestions.com, which is nothing more than this little form. You type in your question, if you want to put your name in there, and a link if you need to for some reason. Like sometimes people point to a picture or something like that. And then it shows up over here, and then we read them. And when we read them, we make them green. And that way we know which ones we've read and which ones we haven't. And once in a while, we go back and read ones over again, unless people have been asking new questions. So be part of this whole conversation. Ask questions. We're going to have people that have been around guns for a while and owned gun shops going forward. And our goal is just to kind of give you the experience you might have shooting the breeze at a gun show or at a cool gun shop or maybe at the range. And virtually, but with all the fancy doodads that Al Gore made for us on this internet so we can talk to each other, just the way Simon or Tony is saying right here. I'm going to work on more shows between homes right now. So what are you saying? Are you talking about the podcast? Because I'm definitely looking forward to more of those. I don't know what it's like when you're traveling, but you did a couple of those in the car. So maybe, well, I guess it's a little tougher if you're in a airport than being by yourself in a vehicle. Maybe you could start blogging, type a bunch of stuff. I can't even imagine how fun the airports are going to be. Airports are so much fun normally, and now they're like extra fun with like, oh, well, it's extra fun, but it's also low salt and the gluten-free version of super fun. So I feel for you, and for all the folks that are doing all this stuff, all all the different efforts to get to SHOT Show. It's there's no pot of gold. It's not like they're dishing out payment when you get up there. All it is more work. All it is an ability to try more, the ability to meet up with people who are also, attempting to do something in a direction with others, right? And it's observing and understanding the opportunity and then making something of it. And none of it's easy. None of it. It's every part of it costs money, and you have to take time away from all the other stuff you should be doing in order to get up there. And it's no sure thing. Like, every part of it is going to be unknown. So value the people that are doing it. You can support those who are doing it if you want, and you can be part of these things and not just observe. Some people just offer info and disseminate it. And then people like Tony are doing more than that, giving you an alternative that's more than grassroots. So check this dude out. Check out Riding Shotgun with Charlie. What is it? Arms Room Radio. That dude's going to be there. Amanda Suffolk's show is called, why can't I think of? Amanda's going to be there, the first female syndicated firearms focused radio show. So the first female hosted firearms focused radio show that's syndicated nationally is going to be on Radio Row. I don't think it's their first time at SHOT Show, but it's their first time being on that Radio Row, where normally they just put up the NRA radio guy and the other people that are funded by the industry to talk about what the industry would like you to talk about or like them to talk about. And Amanda's the one that puts on all the CCW fashion shows. So I don't know why there's not a CCW fashion show at SHOT Show, but whatever. Those kind of folks are the folks that could use support, like I say, and collaboration and participation, right? Like, you can interact with these folks. Their chat's up, and they don't have legions of people saying hello to each other, so you can actually get a question in and get a reply. Eye on the target. Thank you. It was there. I just couldn't say it. Appreciate it. And there's Makojo throwing out that link didn't work. I can tell from here that link didn't work. Let me grab that for you. So, Tony, did you see I'm bringing the poster? We need to meet up so I can get you to sign this poster I got. I made a poster of Tony and then some other people on it. And I'm going to try to get everybody to sign it. Boom. There we go. Did your patch order go through? I'm hoping it did. There's been a lot of patch orders. Let me say thanks. Let me go over and find the website. We have a lot of pre-orders going through for these Yankee designed patches that we're doing as a pre-order to raise funds to get to SHOT Show. And I can't thank people enough. That's it's awesome to see what a whole bunch of people throwing 20, 30 bucks at me is able to do. Of course, it's going to cost something to get them made and cost something to ship them, but that's something I don't want to say we do in stride. We've done it often. So looking forward to the opportunity to be able to send stuff out. When we can, we'll throw extra loot in there. I'm going to SHOT Show and I got bags. So let's see what I can come home with. And, I'm not guaranteeing nothing, but yeah, we've had a lot of people purchasing these. So I don't watch each order coming in. Normally I had my phone. I don't have my phone volume up, but whenever Yankee talks about it in a video, I'll start hearing a ding or two, and they're accumulating. I haven't looked today, but it's over 100. So that's awesome. Let me put the volume up, and then, I don't know if Yankee's live right now or if somebody, something will happen and somebody will talk about it and then it'll go ding, ding, ding. It's pretty cool. And what I'm hoping is to not just experience this, because I've experienced this before. We've experienced it in 2019, and then again in 2020 with the patches. But I'd like to find a way to get this and point it, to direct this at others that, like grants, right, that need it, like that could be using the funds to do stuff. So we'll see what we can do. I've never done a pre-order before, so that's pretty cool. And once we see what the results are, it's a difficult thing to predict because the prices all change. The shipping is going to be the same, but if somebody buys one and somebody buys three, that shipping might be different, right? So I do the calculations on the most expensive shipping and that kind of thing. So you start to, see where your estimates and where the price changes and things all come into play. So you don't really know until it's over. And usually I got to do all that stuff ahead of time so that we can price it, do the project, and then I know everything's going to work. In this case, it was priced to be a fundraiser. So it was pretty, when you price things way high to be a fundraiser, you're pretty certain it's going to work. But then there's no way to know how well it's going to work or like how far it's going to go, let's say. And on the most extreme, if 1 million people bought one, it would cost them $4 million to ship them. And they'd probably cost like a penny or something. And then everybody paid $20 for each one. So now that's, you'd make $16 profit in that, circumstance. So somewhere on that spectrum, it's going to be interesting to see how well this works as a pre-order. And then, of course, the first thing I'm going to try to do is try to figure out how we can aim that at people like, I don't know, this dude or Charlie, or lots of people out there are doing awesome stuff that don't have a fire hose of funding hitting them. And I don't think it needs to be patches all the time. It's sort of like when people are talking about the NFTs and stuff, that they think that the NFTs are always JPEGs or something. Like we kind of figure out a way to harness the concept and point it at valid organizations. Once those valid organizations start to grow fruit and bloom into flowers and stuff, I think people will figure out, oh, wow, this worked. Let's try that again. And then everybody can do it to whatever they feel is worthwhile. It's just we got to prime that pump. Like it isn't like only 2 people need funding. There's probably 2 people in every niche that could use funding. And you only need a couple hundred people, 70 people. I don't know what it is, 100 people now. The few people can make amazing things happen. It's really neat to see it. So anyway, I really appreciate the support and the opportunity to talk about it again. Anybody that does feel like purchasing a couple of these, it's a pre-order. They'll be available for order till Friday. I can start saying that now because it's Saturday, right? Till Friday, next Friday. And then they won't be available anymore. Then I'll tell Alan Anchor, this is how many got sold. So if it's 100, like I think it was at 100 or something, right? This morning. And I guess I had my phone off, so I don't know if any came in today. It usually is when the Yankee makes a video is when they come through. So if it's 110, if it's 130, if it's 100 and 200 or something, then, I'll tell her make this many, and then we'll know the price, and then we'll know how well it worked out. So yeah, it's awesome. And at this point though, it's paid for, like the patches are being made. And that's always the first hurdle is, you start something like this and 4 people participate. Now you're on the hook to make them and you don't have any money. We're past that. So now it's to the point where, we're seeing how far it goes. So yeah, much appreciated. And we'll tell people, again, that's what the whole Patch Batch project was about, but the behind the scenes is available to the folks out there that are doing this kind of stuff so that they can see how the nuts and bolts of this stuff works and whatnot. Oh yeah, he'll get more than 5. I don't know what he's thinking. I think he was just kidding around. We'll give him a big stack or whatever. You always have to make, like if let's say 214. I'm not going to make 214. That's a dumb number. You can't make 214 anyway. You probably have to make 225 or something, right? But I would make, whatever the number is, 10% usually or something you'd want to make over because of something gets lost in the mail or one of them comes in and there's a big red smear on it. Things like that will happen. And what are you going to ask them? It's just not, you just have to just anticipate issues. So Yankee will probably get whatever is like, once we know how many are gone or whatever, everything's good, he'll get whatever's left. But yeah, it's pretty neat. So like I say, it's an awesome experience to be part of. I know that it's, it happens all the time, but when you're the focus of it, it's pretty cool. And like I say, I'm going to do my best to, let's say, archive, but make at least the stuff available to the folks. Because what's kind of neat too is they're going to be able to see it in real time when we go to SHOT Show this year, which actually I never thought about until I started saying here. But yeah, so if anybody is there and we're having the conversation, I can just be like, look, click, here's how you do it. Here's what the numbers look like. Here's how you, like I say, it's sort of like a scale or an abacus. I think of it as like a sliding scale right now, because it's still in flux. But then as soon as it locks down, okay, but you can't really anticipate where it's going to end because you can't see the future. So that's hard to explain to people. But while it's happening, I might be able to explain that a little bit better. All right, so Tony's driving. I do need to quit talking and get back to working. I've had some things going on the text messages throughout the show. So, we don't do everything 100% in public, but at the same time, everybody's getting ready to go to SHOT. So here's the thing. I really wanted to do another show. I don't know how I'm going to do this now. Things are changing quickly, but let's say you're the kind of person who watches what's going on and you're frustrated because, maybe you wanted to be at SHOT, or you don't want to just watch because watching shit is boring when you got the internet in front of you and it's not a programming situation like television. Instead, it's interactive and you want to do something. So think about all these people that are going to SHOT. What do they need? Live conversations that they can just jump into, right? So they need a live room that's open consistently and for a long time. And they need to have links sent to their stupid phones, because most of the time we're not sitting in front of computers and we're all over the place, especially at night. So sending direct links to individuals on their phones is the way to get them in. And not a weird link, but just the direct StreamYard link. And then other things can be done. You could offer to edit pictures. You could offer to do research or make phone calls for people, depending on your relationship with them or what you feel comfortable doing or what you're interested in just coming up with. There's a lot of potential. A lot of stuff is going to happen in the next 10 days or so. And you do not have to be a spectator by any means just because you're on that side of the internet. In fact, there's so much potential. There's always the potential in the numbers, and you've got way more numbers. There's going to be 60,000 people walking around SHOT, only 1,800 media. 1,795 of that media is going to have their head up their ass. Maybe that's too many. 1,600 of them media is going to have their head up their ass. So 100 media are in there accomplishing everything for you, right? There's a whole bunch of media for garbage for other people, but there's only 100 or so in there for you. And think about what they might need. You know what some of us need, because we talk about it all the time, but others that just don't talk about it or don't realize that they can ask for it they don't realize that they could be part of a collaborative thing where if you created a room, just because we're in a live conversation, I keep using this concept. You could create a website and let people link to it. You could have some kind of I don't know how Facebook works. There must be some kind of like little fancy room you could set up inside of Facebook and have sandwiches or whatever. But over on Instagram, have some sort of a hashtag little situation going on where you help tie people together, help them inform, help their audiences unite to ask questions to a group of people that are there, like the reloading group. Like, is there anything uniting the reloading group or facilitating their coverage, uniting the different groups for the sake of SHOT Show, for example? A lot of times the forums that hated each other back in the day, and I'm going to act like they got together, but they would at least calm their jets enough to understand that only 5 of us were there with cameras. And if they all were insisted on being a-holes, then we would never go to their forum and they'd never get our cameras pointed what they wanted. So everybody kind of calmed their jets. We don't live in the old days anymore, but again, there's no limits. The people that are going to SHOT think that they got it all down. And the next year they're going to come up with listen to them. They're going to come up with a whole new set of things that they've got down. And then they're going to go learn and experience and be like, oh, next year I'm doing it this way. And that's the way to do it. So get in that mix, create stuff so that they're part of that. They don't know what they don't need, or they don't know what they need. How about this? People are being cool with super chats and things like that. This is a little more risky, but send people pizzas and stuff. Or if you need help with that, ask somebody where somebody is. And you know what I'm saying? Like without giving out personal info. Like if you asked Ghost, somebody asked Ghost, G23 paid Ghost to take me to dinner, right? Like that was interesting and appreciated very much. Like I didn't know until the Yankees patch thing that I'd be able to eat in shot. I figured I'd be going up there and sleeping in the van and, you know, eating the equivalent my like ramens, except I don't actually eat ramens. But that kind of stuff for when people sent the pizza to Night Strike that time, that's part of the community, right? That's there forever. Where did my damn show go? Somebody got that? Do I have to keep looking? Stupid StreamYard should delete the stuff that gets deleted, maybe, or give us the option. Okay, thanks. You already got it. So anyway, I was throwing around the idea of food or whatever. Let's say everybody's going to a thing. Like we used to, we used to mess with people when they went to Walmart. Let's just put it that way. In a clever, non-illegal way, right? Through the internet. That was the older days and it was a different time, right? Now, let's say everybody's blah, blah, blah about how they're going to go to a restaurant. Talk to whoever's in on it and pay the bill. I'm not saying it all has to be about money. I'm just using that because it's an easy thing to facilitate. Get somebody to take a picture of people who want to have their pictures taken and, you know, on the sly, do something with that, right? Make everybody in the aliens or something. I don't know. There's things you can do to facilitate the people that are here. And I don't want to keep fixating around the money things. There's a lot of stuff that's just like setting up a room, maybe doing a bit of research and offering it to people. Like there was some people back in the day, I apologize, I don't remember everybody's names anymore. But people would accumulate lists. They'd go around to different forums, and let's say the knife forums or the EDC forums or the backpack forums or the boots forums or the armor forums or the night vision forums or the military forums, right? I could go on, trust me. Reloading forums, right? Like long range shooters forums, bullpup forums, and accumulate the things people are interested in and just put that in a list. You make that list available to the people it shot, not one person or two people, but a couple of people who share. And now that list is available to everybody, and everybody in those forums wins because now they've got all those people looking for them. And that was just a couple of people who sat around wondering how they could help to facilitate it. So all of that is how SHOT develops. That's how SHOT continues to be awesome. Maybe it's just making a list of things where like, dang, I wish the stupid thing had this in it. Or look how long it took before we figured out if Caesar's Forum has a monorail entrance. In fact, I still don't know. I'm going to go look right now live and see if they answered me or not. So I asked them this morning and I assumed that they were going to answer me in a positive way. Did I get answered? Interesting. No, not this. Oh, by the way, just a little friendly tip. Look at when your CCW expires. They do not always send out expiration reminders. Okay, so if I can find this post, let's see if I got a reply. Will there be an open entrance to the monorail from Caesars? I asked that 12 hours ago. Because look at this. What does this look like? Can you guys see this? Is this big enough? How do I make this even bigger? Stupid Instagrams. So there's no way to make this bigger? There's got to be. Okay. Is that as big as it'll get? Yes. Okay, so this is a slideshow of images that SHOT Show put up 15 hours ago. 12 hours ago, I asked, will there be an open entrance from the monorail to Caesars? Because this says, welcome to Caesars, and this is up in the air, right? Looking down at this giant, is that a television screen? Is that crazy? Is that a giant television screen? And then, all right, that's the room, I guess. It's okay. All right, that's the walkway That's the walkway out in the outdoors that we're going to have to walk over traffic and under a monorail. You ever heard of such a thing? Over traffic and under a monorail, like we're a human sandwich between vehicle technology. It's ridiculous. They're just shuffling us across like a human sausage tube going across the thing out in the open. What if it's raining? What if there's skin cancer rays coming at us? Horrible. This is what it looks like inside, I guess. Nobody cares about this, what it looks like when the booths aren't made yet. Boom. This picture right here changed history. This picture is insane because this picture seems to imply you can register in the Caesars. Why would you need to register in Caesars if there's not a door to the outside? If there's not an entrance to the monorail? What is this? What is all this? New product center? That's a door to the outside right there. It kind of looks like a garage door, though. This is what used to be the beer garden. At first, it was nothing, and then it was the smokers area. Like, this is when it was cool. This was the smokers area. I used to smoke back then. And then it was the beer garden, which was like the lame hippie version of, or yippie version of the smokers area. And then now it's nothing again because now they ruined it and made it into the outside open airway to walk next door. And then more pictures of the inside that nobody's going to understand. So that picture, oh, dang it. That one picture, though, changed history, not this one. And here, let's figure out where that is. So this is the main room, and there's a big old hole right there, and then a hallway going around it like a lot of convention centers. Look at that big hole. I'm guessing this is the big room, that's the big hallway, right? So now we're in this big room. I don't know why they took this picture, but that's showing us that we got to wear a coat. So now we got to walk into SHOT Show, put our coat away, walk all the way out here, put our coat back on, walk across this stupid thing and put our coat away. Come on. Nobody wants to carry a coat around SHOT Show. What the fucking, what the hell? And then this changes everything because now you can get on the, if this is real, if this isn't some bullshit CGI fake, this means you can get on, all the people that are in SHOT Show can get on the monorail from wherever the hell they came from on an airplane, shuttle, hotel, monorail, SHOT Show. SHOT Show, Uber, monorail. That means no parking issues, no Uber issues, no taxi issues, no congested registration desk. This changes SHOT Show 100% completely. SHOT Show will be different if this picture is in CGI. If this picture isn't fakery and some kind of bullshit thing to screw with us, this changes SHOT Show 100%. Hands down, boom, right there. Changes SHOT Show. It'll be an entirely different situation. How big do you think SHOT Show will be? I know some big businesses. Let me tell you right here in one of these. One of these has some numbers in it. 39,000 registrations have been completed, 42,000 projected or forecasted. So typically it's 60,000. So it'll be from 60,000 to 40,000 in a bigger building. So you got to start being real. Like, it's going to be a bigger building. So if it was the same number of people, it would have seemed less. If it was in a bigger building and there was more people, it would seem the same. And there would have to be tremendously more people for it to be crowded in the bigger building. So realistically, with the bigger building, we should expect it to be the same size and it feel less crowded. There's going to be 15,000 out of 60 is maybe a third less people. Holy crap. So there's going to be quite a few less attendees. And 40,000 is about, is that two? No, that's not a third, but whatever. Somewhere between a third and a quarter. I'm not doing math good, but quite a few less attendees, but in a way bigger building. So it's going to seem empty no matter what. That part's going to seem empty. Normally there's like 2,500 or more exhibitors and it's crowded. Now it's a way bigger building and 100 less exhibitors. So it's going to seem less crowded. It's also completely changed the floor plan. There's nothing about the floor plan is consistent. So it'll be less crowded, less people, like less booth crowded, like less like what's the word? Like the real estate will be more open. The aisles will be wider and that kind of thing, because there's more room and fewer exhibitors, but then there'll be fewer people in those aisles. So it'll seem empty. It'll seem less crowded than normal, but that's the thing. Nothing exists. Everything exists in relationship to another thing. So your perspective has to be last year, the year before, 1979. Like, where's your perspective? So it'll have less people than last year when it had reduced in size from the swell of 2014. So SHOT Show is going to probably be the size it used to be in 2010. It's going to be very much like a SHOT Show 2010. People that think that's a bad thing weren't paying attention. SHOT Show 2010 is freaking amazing. It wasn't the best SHOT Show. It was only the third best SHOT Show that I've ever been to, but it's freaking amazing. And it started 12 years of what we exist in today. So you got a lot of people who don't know shit who are thinking they know what's going to happen at SHOT Show. And that's pretty much because they either don't know shit or they're just the doom and gloomers who are just betting on the house or betting with the, they just think everything's going to lose. They figure they're going to be right half the time. So that's not really an opinion. That's just, they think they're playing odds, right? It's just like, oh, if I don't try, I never lose. It's that kind of thing. So those people, there's nothing you can do. I don't take their advice. SHOT Show has the potential, and I can't imagine why it wouldn't, when you think about the fact that it's going to be in scale and size. Well, it can't be in size. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be in scale. The crowd is going to be similar to 2010, I think, except that in a massively bigger building with 10, 20 years, 12 years later technology, 12 years later media, 12 years later relationship between media and industry, 12 years difference, blah, 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 all the other aspects of it, and then 2 years of stress and chaos, and 2 years of division and like strains on relationships and people being removed from each other unwillingly, like not meeting up where they normally would have. So people getting back together, people appreciating the people that show up. Did anybody drive around in 2001? Literally anybody? Like if you drove around the United States in November of 2001, you know what's going to be like when everybody starts to get back together. And when the gun industry gets back together, is that going to be like, oh, this is a wet blanket, this is really boring, like, oh, everybody's back together again? Or is it going to be the party of a lifetime, and all the suckers who didn't show up made it so that there's never going to run out of food because they didn't know how much food to buy, they just bought all of it? This could be the most amazing blowout event I've ever experienced, easily. And I'm not even being overly optimistic. I'm just playing the odds. I'd say it has a better odds of being the most amazing SHOT Show that's ever happened, because pretty much every player lived through everything I've lived through, except they were actually playing the game, not just watching it. And you think if you're playing the game all this time, you're not going to watch these circumstances come up and not win or attempt to win? You don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the stuff that we don't talk about, like the parties and the relationships and the stuff that happens when everybody's drunk and stuff like that. Potentiality is here in folds times a million now. I'm thinking about it. And the people that set all that stuff up and prospered the last time, they totally know that's what's about to happen. So doom on the people that don't show up. They're not paying attention to the long game. They're listening to the people who want you to tune in tomorrow, in my opinion. I could be wrong. We'll find out. I've only been going for 16 years. It's been going since 79. And people have been going longer than me. And I just don't think they're the people that backed out. The Europeans backed out. All right, well, so that's a rant on SHOT Show, but that's a good question. So yeah, now that you had me kind of think about it like that, yeah, I think it's going to be really neat. Now, are people going to have they're not going to know that. It's going to be an impromptu, amazing SHOT Show. It's not like everybody knows to be, I don't think everybody knows to be ready for this. I'm just figuring it out right now, and I don't know how many people are in my point of view, but if they were and they put a bunch of money into it, it could be great. So if the swag is good and the parties are awesome, I've heard a lot of parties are canceling. People go, oh, that means there's not going to be any parties. Like, what world do you live on that people who want a party don't go to a party just because some idiot turns the party off? They just go to a different party. What does that mean? There's opportunity for new parties. You think that the parties that exist are good? They just exist. They're traditional. The only good party is one I'm not talking about. There's two good parties I'm not talking about. And then one that I've never been to. But the stuff that the people that are turning off their idiot parties are the losers that only had dumb parties to begin with. So the stuff that's the people that have been chomping at the bit to do stuff at night, holy crap, it's about to get awesome, I bet. Plus, people are coming from places where they're not allowed to do anything good anymore, I think. I don't know. I don't live like that. But yeah, people are going to come and want to just hang out and let their hair down. Is that the way I say it? Like, there could be a whole different level of SHOT Show. I don't know everybody. I just know the potential and what's happened in the past. And a lot of it's the same people. And look how many veterans are coming out and being successful, entrepreneurial. And they haven't had SHOT Show in 2 years, but they're still running businesses and being successful. And they don't party in front of cameras. They do a lot of cool stuff that happens that nobody knows about, and that kind of stuff. I can't even imagine what's going to happen this year. And now I'm not talking about the coffee companies that do stuff in front of cameras. I'm talking about the other stuff that nobody talks about. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting stuff this year. How big? Yeah, that's a good question. I really think there's, we'll see, but I think it's easy to throw things out of perspective, especially when you're only looking for what was that called, like confirmation bias. If you're only looking for what you're looking for, then you're going to find 100% of it. I'm looking for the optimistic side. So I'm finding obviously the optimistic stuff, and I'm looking at the people who are putting it on, but it's pretty hard to say that this isn't going to be when it is. And like I say, if they actually did, I can't put less significance on this because Clover had an interview with the guy that runs the thing, and he said specifically, this isn't going to happen. This picture exists. This changes SHOT Show. This changes SHOT Show. Now, the only way it couldn't change SHOT Show is if they insist on telling everybody it's not open when it is open. But that would immediately, people would go home this way, and then they'd come back the next day. It would change SHOT Show within hours once they figured it out. Like it's going to change SHOT Show. Sounds like more comfortable, more opportunistic, more pleasant, more jovial. Like, yeah, I can't imagine it being somber. I mean, people might come in being mopey, and then imagine a whole bunch of mopies coming in and looking around and realizing, oh, wait a minute, everything I thought is wrong, and this is in fact better. And a whole bunch of people stayed home, which nobody wants everybody to stay home. But hell, if half the people or something decide to stay home, or what is that, a third of the people decide to stay home, hey, that's more for everybody else. Because guess what? Everybody bought for the whole party, right? Like, that's just everybody that thinks they're not going to, I'm going to go to the party, I'm going to be the only one there. And then everybody thought that, except, 2/3 of the people did show up. Still a great party, right? I keep saying party like it's a giant party or something. I really just mean the get-togethers. When I say party, I'm talking like 2-8 people get together and have interesting conversations and then actually act on them and, create organizations or facilitate somebody to, create the next level of 2A. I mean, that's happening with tech, and I'm sure it's happening with real parties also. But I guess for a minute there, I was talking about a couple of actual parties, but I'm more talking about just the collaboration that's going to take place when you have fewer people who realize that they're the ones who took the lead. How do you become a leader? You either decide to take a step forward, or you realize every other fucker took a step back. And if you're standing there 1 minute and they say leader step forward, and the next minute you hear some commotion and it's asses and elbows and you and 14 people are standing there, a lot of people understand what that means. You don't always get a chance, So when these people are going to, and then it's not just leadership. I mean, that's just volunteering for anything. But what happens when those individuals do, because they can and they're willing, right? They do, and they become stronger, better, and they write the next book. So we're watching a lot of potential here. And maybe I'm crazy. I'm super optimistic about stuff, but I'm digging it. I can't wait. Let's see. If I would say I want to be able to go and be there, but I don't want to be a dick, but the drive up there is pretty amazing. I get to drive through Arizona to go to SHOT Show. It's pretty awesome. Let's see. Looks like it's going to be huge and comfortable. I think so. The only thing that I want a scooter now, like some kind of a scooter. I know you can rent scooters, but I want to like have some kind of scooter provided to me. Maybe get paid to be on the scooter. That would be cool. Not like an obnoxious one, just like one of them kind you just stand on it. But it would be cool to go around on a scooter. Isn't the best part is the impromptu party in the parking lot or a bunch of people take over a bar? Maybe. But I was thinking of a lot of stuff there as I appreciate the fact, let me just kind of rant there. I really like SHOT Show, and that part of it I hadn't thought about before. This picture blew my mind last night. I'm so stoked. I can't wait for them to go, yeah, that was our idiot made a mistake, and you can definitely come in this. Because I'm telling you, this is going to change SHOT Show completely. And doing it this year, if I'm right about everything else, this will just be like, hey, SHOT Show was awesome, and here's whipped cream on it. Oh, you don't like whipped cream? Then here's whatever the topping you do like. Like we got plenty because all the idiots stayed home. So take all the toppings you want home with you if you want. It's going to be that kind of SHOT Show. But I mean, depends on what focus you're talking about. Yes, that's definitely that thing. And again, when you go to SHOT Show and it's shitty and it's stressful, and let's just be real here. What makes SHOT Show stressful is Europeans. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. The Europeans make SHOT Show horrible. They don't know what lines are because they're uncivilized. They like cut in front of stuff. They're idiots. They're mean. They're just weird. And then they don't talk English. So they're saying dumb shit in front of you all the time. And they're mad and they're loud at each other all the time. They're just horrible people. And everybody knows this. And they just don't talk about it because they have to make money with them. I don't have to make money off of Europe. Thanks to people that are supporting us on the patches. Appreciate that very much. Europe can go stay over there if they want. And guess what? If all those people, I didn't think about it. What if all those people that aren't showing up are Europe's or whatever, fill in the blank other country? So anyway, those people are the worst. They come in, they're obnoxious, they stress everybody out, they waste everybody's time, they get in the way, they ruin stuff. Like seriously, they're probably the ones that steal everything. I don't know. Everything bad that happens is the Europeans' fault. And I'm not even kidding. Without them there, it would be amazing. And I'll bet you that's, now that I'm thinking about it, I was just thinking if fewer of them were there, it'd be great because they're always in the way and they're just freaking weird. Like I can't impress you enough how horrible it is to have a bunch of Europeans just being weird all the time. And they act like they own the place, right? So it's like, oh, I'm blah, blah, blah. Maybe they're rich or something. I don't know, but they're annoying and often expensive because they get in the way and ruin stuff all the time. So without them there, the whole environment, the whole vibe of SHOT Show would be different, is what I was getting at. And then, yes, once you've got people that are just enjoying themselves at SHOT Show, basking in capitalism and freedom to own property, and then they have an evening where they're relaxed and having a conversation, what develops there has to be insane. Plus, imagine, I didn't even think about the repercussions. If the Europeans aren't in SHOT Show, that means they're not at the restaurants or in the hotels or even driving. I never even thought about how pleasant it would be. Unfortunately, we have to need them for their money. If they could just give their money to the casinos, that'd be great. But blah, 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 international tourism or whatever. But no, let me rant a little bit there too, but the impromptu stuff I think is a factor of the vibe and like how stressful it is. And I don't know I can only tell you when I've been stressed at SHOT. Like I've definitely had years when it's stressful, and I know there's years when the community has been stressed. There's also years when the industry is stressed, lack of materials or lack of what do you call supplies like powder or something, like primers was one. But then there's also been times when the industry is stressed because of lack of innovation. Like they know that they're not bringing anything to the table, and then they kind of look at each other and realize that nobody's bringing anything to the table, and they're about to spend a lot of money to talk about nothing again this year. That kind of SHOT Show, think about it. What was that, 14, 15? Long, there's a couple of times when it was my experience where that's happened, and that stresses them out. They get really weird. They don't know what to sell, and they're not selling it. Then the boom times come, and they quickly, as fast as they can, forget about that stuff. I don't know if they learn from it or not, but anyway, those kind of environments create everybody goes home and drinks, or everybody goes home and sleeps so that they can make money tomorrow because they didn't make any today. The reviews are quick, like blah blah blah. Let's get out of here. I got to get to the next review, or I'm not supposed to be spending time on you. I need to make. I got to be doing something else. Like that kind of stuff can be different. I don't know what to expect this year, other than now I'm super stoked that maybe the Europeans are the ones that are scared to come over here or can't or something, and then it's literally just all a bunch of gun shops and ranges and manufacturers and the middlemen, and then media. Wait a minute. Manufacturers, media, middlemen, media. If only there was an M word for gun shops. Merchants of guns. So then we would have all M related stuff, and then Europe couldn't come in because you have to be M related to get in there. All right, now I'm just rambling. All right, so you think a big manufacturer might sell for less money due to less folks? Buyers are gonna SHOT 20% less customers? Wait a minute. So do you think the big manufacturer might settle or sell for less money? Do you mean the items? Like, are they going to sell their products for less? They still got to pay people. Items probably cost more now. They're probably, this is like a lot of commodities. If you're buying shotguns this year, you're probably paying for the steel 2 years from now in there. So the prices are probably going up in anticipation for things. So I'm guessing that if you're talking like store sales, it might be the kind of year where they're like, oh yeah, you better stock up because these things are going to go up in price. Not because of a fear or nothing, but like buy as many as you can at this price because they're not going to be this price in the future. They're going to be more. So there could be that kind of thing where the manufacturers are selling. I don't think anybody's going to sell for less. I don't know, maybe clarify that one. Europeans talk like, well, there's like, I don't know, there's like 12 different kind of Europeans, right? Like the Italian ones get all mad all the time. You can tell them by the way they look and also whenever they start talking. But you can also, just their mannerisms, like nobody else is just going to stop dead in their tracks and have a conversation in the middle of the hallway. As soon as they start talking, Europeans, you can tell. So anyway, yeah, they all got their own way of talking. And then some of them, some other foreigners are less, you don't even know. Like either they're not obnoxious or they go do their business like elsewhere. It's just the Europeans are like, I don't know, for whatever reason, they're just used to doing everything right wherever they happen to be. Everybody's participating, whatever they're doing right now. Like, oh, I'm about to walk upstairs. Nope, we're having a conversation. You can just stay there, guy, because you don't exist to me. And I'm standing here on the stairs talking to this person in some fucking language. It's weird. Like that, they just do that stuff often. I mean, it's not like, oh, once that happened to me. It freaking happens all the time. Like, oh, these are escalators. Like, no problem, do that. These are stairs, though, guy. Like in this country, these aren't going up. We're all standing here, and everybody behind me is standing here because you're standing here talking to your friend here. In our country, we would go to the bottom or top of the stairs and do that off to the side so that other people can live their lives. Anyway, ranting about the Europeans again. All right, well, let's ruin this one. At the beginning, I had probably a lot of potential to have European viewers. They were like, oh, yeah, I'm digging this show. Here's the extra bonus. If Europeans quit listening to this show, then they don't buy stuff off of me, and I quit having to cancel their orders because they're like, oh, I'm going to buy that for $1. And they know it costs $26 to ship it to them, but they're like, oh, I'm going to buy that for $1 to the dealers. So do you think manufacturers might sell for less to the dealers due to less folks going to SHOT? Sometimes I do, but they often know how to put their stuff down. Europeans consistently carry like bags and purses and luggage, things around. They're always carrying like extra things. So they put that stuff down in between them.
or they stand so close to each other that you think they're about to kiss or whatever, but they're really just talking to each other, and you can't get through there. You don't want to get through there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you see like stress and inflation, all the concerns people have, and then them saying, "Hey, let's cut prices." I think it's more like, "Hey, do you mind if we increase prices a little bit and maybe offer fewer models?" That kind of thing. But I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't know. I really don't pay attention. I don't know enough gun shops. But since we're talking on that tangent, one of the things I would like to do at SHOT Show this year is meet up with some shops. I wish I would have been able to have more time. I probably should have been doing that instead of blabbing here doing nothing. But I should put the word out, or attempt to figure out how to put the word out in a better way to chat with shops that might be interesting, unique, like shops that have been around a long time or that cater to a market or something that's unique or new, or something that makes the shop not just your, I'm one of 9 in a chain big box store. We sell the same stuff that every other store sells. Those shops I'm not so much interested in, unless it's in the trend, in the progress of changing into, we needed to build this kind of store to get our feet wet or established or something, and now our goal is to become this. Then I'll talk to them. Like, that would be cool. But I just know so many of these ranges are awesome. As I was doing research in the last couple of years, there are some really cool gun shops that I visited that I just know of from people talking about them in chats. So my goal would be to chat with some of the gun shops and arrange for a consistent podcast series. In other words, like every, whatever it is, Thursday, chat with a gun shop and ask a set of questions and just get some insight from different types of gun shops from all those spectrum I was just talking about. And that would give us some insight. I'm still never going to ask them, like, what do you think of the Beretta? Or what about the finger hole on the blah, 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 or whatever garbage, stupid questions that I think are stupid. I'm not going to ask them that. I want to hear more of like the nerdy questions I'm interested in, like how they're doing. And well, we have a bunch of questions actually that we came up with in a live chat, but just to offer that kind of mosaic or that kind of patchwork of a bunch of different shops offering it some insight. And from that, we might get some insight or some perspective on if they're getting stuff cheaper. I just don't think they are. It just seems like, I don't know if, I guess they must have put stuff on sale, but I bet you they put stuff on sale when they don't have it anymore. Like, they're not going to make it anymore. Like, just let's get rid of this. Let's put it on sale. But if they are getting behind a line, it's more like they just come out with more models. Maybe that's not working anymore. Maybe it's time for the manufacturers to go the route of, some other kind of business plan. But I don't know. I guess that's getting into a whole other topic. And I been going for 3 hours. So give us some feedback either now. Well, now it's going to end. But in the future, if you're watching this in the comments, if this was too long, like I say, my goal for the Ask Gun Questions is an hour. But we got SHOT Show coming and Clover was on the road. So worked out to kind of chat long today. And but I don't want to guarantee this. I definitely don't have time to do a 3-hour chat every Saturday. But again, this is kind of a unique day, but I am burning time. I could be doing something else with it too. So, but if you're watching this in the future, you're leaving some comments. Let us know what you think of the 3-hour format. Of course, if you have any specific questions about any of those things, you can go ask at askgunquestions.com or in the comments of this. We haven't had enough questions come in the comments for me to say if I'm going to remember to look at them or not. But I imagine if we started getting a bunch of questions in the comments to these videos, it could easily be added to our show to just go back and look at the questions from last week. So however you think is clever, ask some questions, we'll answer them, and you'll watch a couple of things here, and we'll be back to pick you up later. I'll just drop the link out here in case anybody wants to after chat. I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to after chat all afternoon, though, but I might leave it running in case you want to jump in. After chat is when we throw the link out to the room, and if anybody that wants to jump in is welcome to. Doesn't mean we're going to let you in case, in fact, if you're weird, we're going to boot you out of there. But for the regulars and people we know, then feel free to jump in. We just chat without a broadcast and kind of shoot the shoot. Thanks again for showing up. We will be back to pick you up later. GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Oh, I forgot. G23's show is next. And then I don't know if barbecue's probably going live also. I wasn't even thinking today's Saturday. I was just thinking today's the day I'm not doing what I thought I was going to be doing. So I'm doing this show from here when I didn't think I was going to. So yeah, I totally forgot. So if you want, throw a link in there, or I guess I got it here somewhere. And then barbecue is doing a show probably. And oh, wait a minute. Tonight is also the overnight, right? So yeah, you got all kinds of good stuff to look forward to. So here's the deal. This show's going to end in like moments. G23 goes live, and then barbecue goes live, and he's probably going to run all the way until Foss goes live, and he'll probably run all the way until Gizzard goes live, and then he'll go live all the way until Locked and Loaded goes live. Oh, wait a minute. Gizzard isn't going live because he doesn't have the interest in running his show while he's at SHOT Show, huh? So I guess he broke the train. We were going to have nonstop 24-hour live coverage, except for Gizzard decided not to participate. Is your video already up? See how many things I got to click on? Now you could go in and change your homepage to display that. I wouldn't have to click on all this. I got to click on this, and then I got to click on this, then I got to click on this, and then I got to click on this so that I can click on this, do this so that I can do this, and do this, and then do this, and then say this, and then do this. So yeah, G23 is next. I guess you got to wait 43 minutes. But if you wait a minute, you'll only have to wait 42 minutes. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.